So the number one question I get from people, when you're embalming them, do they ever get a hard-on?
Beezle Boys! Beezle Boys!
You guys kick ass, and I really do like the content. And hey, you know what? For all the listeners out there, you guys have got to tune in to my friends.
So this is a special shout out to Beezle Boys. Let's go ahead and have some fun. I'll take my glasses off.
In 3, 2, 1. Welcome to another episode of Beezle Boys. I'm your guest co-host Barry. With us tonight is our special guest Adam, who's a very interesting guy and among many things is a veteran of the funeral home industry. So we're going to get into some interesting discussion tonight, but let's get this thing rolling. Here are your hosts, Chase and Billy.
Well, guys, we're here again, and that's what it's all about. So
Yes, we are.
we have a special guest that we've tried to make this episode happen. I think, honestly, it may be already about a year ago, like late fall, early winter of 2019.
Something.
But I want to do a quick cheers to everybody here. Thanks for being our friends and sharing your lives with us. What are we here for? Become better people.
So cheers.
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 Rag.
Rag 'em. All right, Adam. So you're our guest. How do you
Hello.
wanna
How
take
are
this
you?
bad boy off? I'm well. In fact, I'm better now that you're here.
Okay, good.
What?
Me too. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah,
Long time in waiting. So
we've talked about this for a while, wanting to do this. Billy said, like you've got experience, Adam, in the morgue,
quite a
industry,
bit.
and we're very interested.
Okay.
Yeah, I think before you really get going here, the idea for this kind of started from just really us sitting around and stories coming up, from Adam's past, and he's like, this one time, blah blah blah. So we, thought but we got to get this guy on the podcast and talk about some of this.
Get
stuff.
me on
So-
record.
yeah, get you on record. So
Allegedly.
tell us, tell us some basics about, your run in the business. Like how long you've been doing it. What kind of things did you do, just overall?
I think 15 years when I finally decided no more mentally. I think it was exhausting and
He decided to check the fuck out.
yeah, basically.
So you did it for 15 years.
Yeah, I did it for 15 years. Went to mortuary school, did about a year apprenticeship after that, became licensed in the state of Missouri and Illinois.
How old were you when you decided to do this?
Why Illinois?
So when
random.
why in Illinois? I actually lived in Illinois for a while, but worked in St. Louis.
So I got a quick question before he goes on to what he was saying. So you went to mortuary school.
Sure.
And then you did an apprenticeship, and then you had to get your license. Can you kind of talk about like that process? How long does it take?
Yeah, so it's they pretty much pack 4 years into 3.5, and you go through the schooling, semester by semester. You take different classes as far as I think my favorite was the reconstruction class. So you make noses, ears.
Oh, nice.
So if you get
Like
someone that's
playing
been
Play-Doh.
yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
much.
So if you get a flattened semi person, you can put them back together and
Hold on. When you say flattened semi-person, I'm assuming you mean
putting their face back together after being hit by a semi.
Right.
Is there anything left?
Just wanted to clarify.
It's happened
Sponsored by Freightliner.
this episode. But no, I think, dude, it's crazy, man. I didn't know what I was getting into. Got the interest when I first got out of high school. I worked part-time as an operating room tech. So I was in there like passing the surgeons the instruments and getting to help stitch up. And I was like, man, this is cool, but I am not going to med school. So I had a buddy that had a funeral home, and I was like, man, I got to come check this out. Yeah, I was
if
like,
they're dead, you can't get sued.
yeah. So my dream was to be a life flight nurse, actually. That was my dream, was to do life flight. And I thought next best thing, easiest school, mortician. So, but no, it's not. I actually got into it just for the science. There's so much science to it that people don't realize that you have to know to. It's not like you just open them up, drain blood. It's a little more technical than that. So there's a lot of chemistry You good at chemistry, Billy?
I suck at math and science, but I'll give it a shot.
That's part of it.
Like, I think it would be intriguing and interesting because I enjoy anatomy and stuff like that.
Yeah, we know you enjoy anatomy. Billy.
Yeah,
I've heard.
What's the other word?
Yeah.
Is it physiology? What's the other word? Anatomy and physiology. Or,
Yeah.
Is that right? Physiology.
Yeah, physiology.
But like sewing people up in organs and like it's just intriguing to me. Like I think like it's one of those things that it's I don't want to say taboo, but it's like the end of the road. So a lot of people don't want to talk about death or dying and stuff.
But they're interested in it.
Yeah, or you'd think that
Yeah.
at least curious.
Yeah. So I helped this guy for a summer, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is pretty cool. We did like coroner calls and went out on the highway, and I was like, man, I could do this. What do I have to do? And he's like, you got to go back to school for like, 3.5 years. And so I did, and man, going through school was interesting because we had 30 kids that started. And the first time we went to the St. Louis City morgue, we had 14 kids left. So I don't know. I guess
you guys
people
see
thought
some
like they
fucked
were
up
going to.
shit?
Oh, man. So that was the year that his last name was Hancock, played for the Cardinals. And he was had a game that night in St. Louis, and he had been at the bar and was heading back home. And I think they'd won that night. And he did not see a stopped tow truck flatbed and took his head off. And so that was one of the first things we saw as a class was that. And so a lot of people left. I think one girl fainted.
They just couldn't handle it.
Couldn't handle it. No, they got into business thinking you're going to wear a suit, drive a Cadillac, look pretty all day. It's not that. It's,
So when you say like the coroner call, how does this work? So somebody's killed, the police, the ambulance get the first call, and as soon as somebody is pronounced dead, they instantly call the coroner. So like you're pretty well like one of the first important people on that call outside of law enforcement. Is that right?
Especially if it's like on, like a highway, you've got to get there pretty quick. And so we would get a call. It's called a J4. So the police would call in a J4, which means
JR?
which means a vehicular fatality is what a J4 means. So last girl I embalmed was 17 years old.
That's illegal without
No.
parental
That's what
consent.
they're calling it these
Yeah.
days.
How many you got under your belt?
Huh?
How many you got under your belt?
What's that, embalmings?
Yeah, you said last girl you
Oh,
embalmed.
man, I probably did 300 embalmings.
That's crazy. So, like
I've seen it all, man.
if you had
Black,
to give
white,
us
Asian.
a rough guess, how many corpses or dead people do you think you've seen in your
Oh,
life? Over
shit.
1,000?
Oh, I'd say easily because I've been. I did murder scenes for a while when I was in Lebanon.
It's kind of fucking hot.
I had a
Billy's getting
triple homicide I showed up to, which was very interesting.
Dun dun. Law and Order.
Dun, dun.
SVU.
Dun, dun. But no, the crazy thing about the mortuary business, we always kid each other. Nobody dies between 8 and 5 p.m. They wait till you get home, and then you're up all night working. And the other kind of funny mortuary thing is they come in threes. So if you get 1, 2, you know you're going to get your third. Let's see what else I'm trying to think.
I want
the
like
actual.
some details about
Yes.
like maybe I don't know what's some of the
Tell me, okay,
craziest situations.
How about this?
Yeah.
How about this? Tell us about the first person you embalmed, like by yourself. Like,
Yeah,
out of school,
yeah.
you got a job as a,
what kind of intimate relationship did you have with that?
I hope there wasn't an intimate one.
Real quick, prior to that, like,
No,
was
dude.
your 3.5, like, I mean, you went to school for a long time. Like, there's people that get a bachelor's degree. So my point is, like, was that study a combination of book work and hands-on doing? Was it more technical? I feel like it would have to be a combination of both.
Well,
within
when you get
reason.
into your last year, you start, you go out and you find a funeral home or an embalming service to work for. And I did an embalming service because that's all they do. So you get really good experience. You get everything that comes through there. So I thought, man, if you want to be really good at it, you want to practice. Because, man, you can make someone look terrible pretty quick.
So, like, you know, like
if you
in
don't know what you're doing.
biology, you know, like you dissect cats and stuff, and like and dentists or different doctors have basically practice attempts. Like, would you guys get like bodies that weren't able to be put open for display, but you were able to practice on them. Like, hey, you're going to sew their fucking liver back in, so I don't eat it.
Your liver goes in a trash bag, by the way, but that'll be part 2 of the story. Where do the organs go? No, I mean it's just one of those things that you never know where you're gonna come upon. Like, you get a call out and you don't know if they're 400 pounds. You don't know if they're blowing their head off. A lot of times you just don't know what you're walking into. And
but then somebody else has to like wash the body, clean it, comb the hair.
We do it all.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's like I remember when my uncle passed away, he had a beard, but he never wore a beard his whole life. And my aunt told the mortuary service, like, please make him clean shaven. That's what everybody knew him as. That was what he looked the majority of his life.
Right.
But something stupid.
And he looked good?
Yeah. Okay. But what were you saying a second ago, Barry?
Oh, I was just saying, like, and I don't know if you even remember necessarily the first one, but like,
sorry,
that's okay.
First one out of school. Yeah. Where was I? I was doing,
or just like even one of your first more interesting ones.
Well, it was embalming by myself before I graduated school. It was I took a weekend job. I'd leave on Friday because I didn't have class and come back Monday. And I lived at the funeral home in Lebanon, Missouri.
That's fucking sketchy.
Oh, you live there?
Lived there.
What?
There was a apartment above, of all things, the embalming room.
Ooh.
And
I
it
thought you were
was,
going to say above the furnace.
It was nice and warm in there.
Yeah, it was very toasty.
Was that like depressing at all? Like,
about
so you
green
go
energy.
out,
It was freaky, man. Like I
drink with your friends,
was
and then
always
come
looking
home.
behind my shoulder, like hearing things. I think it was all just knowing there were dead people laying below me, a floor below, just laid out. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen too many movies. I think
I got
what
a
was
serious
going
question. Was there a smell, or do funeral homes have some sort of like containment? I don't know.
It's a
sprays
ventilation
or
system,
ventilation
really good
system?
ventilation, because the embalming fluid's very carcinogenic. And a lot of people that do this for a long time end up getting lung cancer because you're supposed to wear a respirator and no one does. A mask at best. But the chemicals are really potent. So I think that's the smell. Like, to me, when I walk into a funeral home, it's just I know that smell because I've been around the chemicals.
Yeah.
And I think that's as good as they can, to mask it with whatever they use. You can still smell that stuff. It'll make you cry if you're up in it. I mean, your eyes, it'll be like onions times 10.
I fucking hate onions.
Yeah. It's potent.
So, is there like a time frame, like on average, when a person dies? Obviously, as soon as you die, your body quits making cells, and essentially, you just immediately start decomposing and rotting. Like, is there like, are you given a time frame where you have to fix this, or you can't go back?
Well, a lot of funeral homes, like if it's the middle of the night, they're not going to go back and embalm it right then. They'll put it in a freezer, and then come back the next day, and it's fine. I mean, but the rule is, if you're going to have any type of viewing that the public will be at, you have to be embalmed within 24 hours.
And why is that?
Because after 24 hours, you do start getting decay. Or
Really?
not actual decay, but you start getting a funk.
This is kind of weird. Like, I've seen some people at funerals that obviously the person was very recognizable and they did a wonderful job. And I've seen some people that I've honestly said, who the fuck is this? This is not my cousin.
You can tell when you got a good one.
Rodeo clown is what some people make. They overdo makeup. And
Yeah, I hate that.
there's so like in chemistry, you learn like the chemicals. There's like a pressure flow, but you also learn, how do you explain it? Like the color variants of the chemicals. So you mix like a dark pink with like a red, but you have to know how to fuse it. So when you put it into their carotid, they don't just become bright red. That's the chemistry part. You got to really be careful when you turn that machine on because it's going pretty quick, and you got to know what you're doing. Or
do you guys have to like literally hand wash the entire body from head to toe? Like, I mean, you take them out of the clothes, you have to clean everything from head to, I mean, like within reason, and then you dress them according to what the family does.
Like hoses on the metal beds.
Do you wipe their ass?
That's what I'm asking.
A lot of people when they die do shit themselves and piss themselves.
Because your bowel movements all go to shit.
You just kind of
you lose control.
You relax, right? But
Was
not
there
always.
ever-
I mean, I saw it less than I think I saw it actually happen.
Did you ever? I think it's called like rigor mortis.
It
Like-
sets in after about so you got a call and brought him back and laid him on the table. Good 3 hours. They're going to be pretty stiffed up. So you got to work their joints and almost like massage to get them that muscle. Because when you die, your muscles contract, so you get tight.
Any happy endings?
But speaking of happy ending, I'm glad you brought that up. I do have a good story on that. I don't want to forget. I was married to a girl that I met in mortuary school.
Oh,
And she worked at another funeral home opposite of where I worked. And
Did you guys meet at a funeral or something?
no, in school.
There you go.
She went
name
back to
was
school.
Morticia.
Morticia, right.
Damn, dude.
So
It's like the Addams family
this
over
was,
here.
yeah, I know, right? So she came on one day and she's like, dude, you will not believe what happened today. I was like, what? She's like, I've never even seen this. And she said, we had a guy who died.
Viagra overdose?
Could have been. Could have
been
been.
me.
You never know.
Hope it is one day.
He was a popular man, we'll
Blue
put it that
Chew.
way. So they get a call. He was married, but they get a call from a girlfriend that he had. She had heard he died and was like, can I please come up there before the wife gets there? And they're like, and she's like, no, I've been with him for 10 years. I just want to see him and I'll leave. So I guess whoever her boss was, said, yeah, they can come up, and real quick, before the wife came. So
Private viewing.
yeah. So he's, they just, brought him back from wherever he had died, and he wasn't embalmed yet, and he was just under a sheet on like they're called cots. That's what is on the wheels. Ambulance, they're stretchers. Mortuary, they're called cots. So he was on a
Shitty
cot with a
version.
sheet over him, and so she went back there, and they're like, where is she? It had been like, 10 minutes, 15. So someone went back there, and she had her hand under the sheet, giving the dude a hand job. And
The dead guy.
yes, and they were like, "What the fuck is she doing?" And so I can't remember. I think they had to tell the wife.
Yeah, is that
They
like,
had to
wasn't-
tell the wife.
but she
No,
wasn't
you don't tell the wife.
obviously
You
allowed
tell her to
to
get the
come
fuck
back.
out, and you
Right,
don't tell
right.
anybody about that.
Yeah, they're like, you need to leave. Obviously, they're like, get
She didn't
out
get
of here."
charged with like
I was gonna say, is that
disposal
like
of a
a
corpse or
crime
some
or-
shit.
I think she was like mentally insane or something. But no, that was, speaking of what you
Clearly.
said. That's the best story I have on that,
Uh,
because I was like, that's absolutely disgusting.
was that one kind of like one of the first
I said he must have been a popular guy.
things that you were asking earlier? Barry?
yeah.
You're
Wish it
talking
was
about
me.
one of his early first
Oh,
experiences.
I'm trying to think, just because I did so many.
So many, it's crazy.
So quick.
Yeah,
I worked
like-
at this embalming service out in the county in St. Louis, and we actually serviced 3 black funeral homes. So, and every embalming black people is really hard. And the fact that, so when you embalm a body, first you look at the fingertips and toes to see if they're coming back with color. Well, in a black person, that's really hard to see if you're getting fluid everywhere, because you want to distribute the fluid evenly and not have it pool up in like the hand.
that way they don't look like they got a goddamn beach ball growing out of their stomach.
I know, right? So anyway, that was really, really good experience, because you became a really good embalmer by not being able to see what you're doing. It was really difficult, but that was an interesting experience.
so did you
embalming
ever
for
have
the-
any embalming catastrophes? Like where something just went wrong?
yeah. Had a really big guy, and
What's big?
Fat fuck.
yeah, he was probably 400 easily. And
That's big.
I finally found his carotid, digging around, found it, cut into it, and my pressure, I guess, was turned up too big for whatever arteries he had, and he just blew like a pumpkin.
What do you mean? Like,
What? Yeah.
where?
Like, he just got fluid so quick, like he just kind of even blew up bigger than he was.
Oh,
Is there ever a
like a
situation
bloated squirrel in the
Yeah.
swimming pool?
what's our boy's name from TLC with the scrotum that's 500 pounds? Or not 500, 170.
Yeah. A sack of potatoes.
Yeah. So, was there ever a situation where somebody died, and obviously depending on the wreck and the accident and what the family wants, not every service is a open casket.
No.
But was there ever a situation where the family wanted to have an open casket, but something went wrong with like the bombing or the cleansing of the corpse, and you guys had to tell the family like, hey, unfortunately science just fucked up and you don't want to have an open casket service.
This looks fucked
It just
up.
went horribly wrong.
Yeah. The only one I can really think about, I mean, that's weird that there wasn't more than one I remember, but it was a autopsy. So if you die and you have an autopsy, you go from the crime scene to a medical lab or wherever. In the city, you go to a medical examiner, which you have to be a medical doctor to be a medical examiner. A coroner is an elected position, so you can be a coroner and just take like basically a couple classes, and you're pronouncing people dead. So it's weird. Where was I going with this?
I guess I was asking if there was ever a situation where
Oh yeah. So we had
cut me
a
off.
really big person, and when you get the autopsy back, when the funeral home picks up the body that's been autopsy, the people that do the autopsy just barely sew the skin back. So when you have an autopsy, it goes from your pelvic bone all the way to your chest. At your chest, it goes like a Y up to your shoulder.
That's what fucking Owen Gray has done. Have you seen that?
I've seen a few of them. They are
What
kinda
is it?
creepy. They look like they've had an autopsy.
It's like
Oh,
a Y.
tattoo.
It's like
Yeah.
scar.
So it
Like,
goes from like shoulder down to your pelvic. So
and what for the listeners out there, does that mean you cut them open, like you said, pretty well from your pelvic bone up, and then across the breast muscles up to basically the shoulder
yeah, I
blade?
mean,
And when you guys
past-
pull the meat back, you look at the organs,
meat.
and then the doctor says,
Well,
"Oh,
the
this-
doctors, yeah, they do all that. So the doctors weigh the organs.
Have you
so
ever
they weigh
been
the
in
liver.
there when that happened?
Yes, I have a couple times. Really interesting.
They
some
weigh
of
their
that-
organs.
called a,
They're going to sell them on the black market.
Yeah. So that's called a pathologist, and that's the doctor that performs autopsies.
But they do that,
As a
right? Because like on
pathologist.
your license, you can be an organ donor, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's a
That's a
point
whole
where
nother
they-
thing, though. That's in Oregon. That's like the one in, let's see, it's Midwest. I think it's like Midwest Organ Donation or something. But they kind of have their own autopsy lab that they do when they're doing a harvest. It's called harvesting in Oregon.
I want to know, like, what you said you lived at the funeral home,
Yeah.
like, and there was some creepy stuff, like, I don't know, give us a story or something like that, because I'm always interested in that, and I'm creeped out by, like,
Yeah, like I was thinking
Well,
earlier, like did you just
ghosts and
go
stuff,
out, you
like-
lived your life, you came home, you had to walk
Yeah.
through funerals every night.
Did
go
you
to
ever
your
take a
bedroom?
chick?
Well,
Did you ever take a chick
Yes,
back there?
yes.
Yeah,
Some
I.
kinky bitch.
So
that's
the
like
girl I was dating.
his wife at the time. I apologize for that.
No,
vulgar language.
it wasn't my wife. The girl I was dating, she came down and stayed a few times.
Even
but
better,
the,
it's an affair.
The owner didn't appreciate that very much, so I guess he thought I needed to be, with it all the time. So she came down a few times, but a lot of times I went and got a hotel room because I was like, dude, I am not staying here because I was still in school. Like,
So did you get
I
to stay
enjoyed
there
it, but
for
I was still
basically-
freaked out by it.
Free of rent. Like you went to school.
They
you didn't-
paid me.
So,
come
so
down.
you actually not only went to school, they paid you to live there, right?
Yeah, for the weekend they paid me
Oh.
to.
For the weekend.
So it was like me and an embalmer on call, and so we would go and get the bodies and bring them back. But no, I think the time that I was scared the most was we got a call. I think it was like 3 a.m. There was a triple homicide about 20 minutes away. It was like a rainy. I don't know. It was like something out of a horror movie. It was rainy. It was foggy, and we were on this country road. It was outside Lebanon somewhere. I'm not sure the town. And we get to the driveway, and it's like this long gravel driveway, and you can barely see, and you can just barely see lights flashing up the driveway. And so anyway, me and the guy I worked with, Matt, we had the Suburban with us, which had a couple cots in it.
Cots.
I feel like we need
Body
some
bags,
creepy
gloves.
music in the background
Yeah.
for this.
Like the
Cots.
organ.
How about those cots?
Augmental Productions.
Cutting lewds.
But yeah, you were going.
So
to
yeah,
a
so we
triple
get out of the
homicide.
car, and there's a lot of sheriff deputies, and there's 3 of them in there dead.
Three
We're like,
sheriff
wow.
deputies dead.
No, the sheriff said there's 3 people in this little
fuck,
house
dude.
dead.
Go on.
It's like a crickety old little farmhouse,
Oh, that's sketchy shit. I'm gonna
And
tell you,
it was scary, dude. It was weird.
like
And
that
you
shit
walk
for
in-
me scares me. Like when I watch like movies and TV shows, like the stuff that like takes place down south and in the Midwest and like just rural areas is more scary and intriguing to me because like we've grown up in an area like where there's so much mystery. Like, you know, like New York, people get killed every day. It's like it's fucking New York, you know? But like there's something sketchy about like going out to like, you know, a bunch of farmland and acres, and then there's this fucking barn, and I don't know. It's just it's like
people
I
can
think a true
do-
detective. It's like there's so much that could happen that nobody knows is
Yeah,
actually happening.
yeah.
It's like this mysterious.
Well, and they hadn't found the gunman yet, so
Oh shit!
you know that was kind of scary with us.
He was
walking in.
hiding
when you
out
got
back.
there, so 3 people are
Yeah.
dead.
So,
They're
yeah, we
looking
walk
for a
in.
gunman.
We walk in, you open this crickety old ass house, and you walk in, and there was a couch, and I remember it very vividly, a couch and 2 recliners. And there are just 3 people that just been gunned down right in the head. And,
What
you
were
could
they
tell it was
shot
like
with?
execution style.
What
So
did
you
they
telling
get
me like
shot
you think
with?
that multiple people held them hostage and they took turns shooting one of them one by one and the others watched?
So, you know, we ended up finding out, of course, what happened. But what did happen was, but no, that was really, you know, I hadn't seen anything like that before, and that was really.
Did
And
you
I was
get
staying at the
sick?
funeral home that night by myself.
How
and-
old do you think you were at this time, roughly?
Young 20s, probably. Yeah, young 20s. And I was kind of, you know, spooked anyway on things. So, so of course, you know, it just replayed in my mind all night, laying it back at the funeral home.
Were they down below you?
No, we had taken them straight from there to Springfield
Okay. Okay.
for autopsies.
What was the
So-
story that happened that led to that and everything?
Yeah, so what happened was it was their daughter's ex-boyfriend. Something had happened with the family, and she wasn't allowed to see him or something. And they had parked their car at the end of that driveway. There was 4 guys, and one was 19, one was like 18. They were young. And one of the guys, so the ex-boyfriend was with them, but a guy they didn't know, the parents, walked up to the door and said they had car trouble. And just blasted all 3 of them. They were sitting there.
When you say all 3 of them, they shot the mother, the
Yeah, they
father,
just-
and the daughter?
Oh.
Nope. It was, no, I'm sorry. It was an aunt or something. The daughter wasn't there. So this story gets better.
That's
so,
like some tragic shit.
That's some
Yeah.
deep
Dude,
shit.
ex-boyfriend.
so
like,
yeah, just like
No
execution
wonder
style.
the dad
Talk about
hated
some
him.
sick fucks for 18
Yeah.
and 19.
And they had stole the truck from one of the guy's dads to drive to the crime scene. And so, anyway, as this is all going on, we get a call about another shooting in town back in Lebanon. We're like, what the hell?
What
so-
time is this like at night? Like, you know,
It was like
Three.
three in the morning, man.
when you first got the call or by the time you got
Yeah, it was
the
probably
second
like
call?
2 something. We got there probably around 3.
So you guys are cleaning up thinking, okay, we're just going to wait
Yeah.
to see what happens. And then you fucking get the call
And
that there was
then they're
another
like,
shooting
we got
in
another
town?
shooting in town. So we go over there, and this was really fucked up. So the ex-boyfriend went to their daughter's house, the girl whose parents were just killed. She had an apartment, and they went in there, and her and the new guy were in bed together.
Oh.
And the boyfriend shot him, and she's the only one that's lived out of all 4 of those.
I have a serious question. This has always bugged me in these situations. Like, this is, I guess, where the phrase "a crime of passion" comes
Yeah.
into play.
Well, I'd say.
But why not shoot her and let him live?
I think
And it
just
depends on the
to
context
give-
situation. I'm just
I
saying,
think it
like,
was just
in other words,
crazy.
if I'm with a girl,
Yeah.
a girl, and she's cheating on me with another guy,
Mm-hmm.
you also have to understand that maybe that guy didn't know that she was in a relationship.
Well, I
There's a
don't
lot of
think.
things.
I don't.
But I always
think
think
she
it's
was
crazy that they
cheating.
shoot the dude and let the chick live, but
But
do
they're
that
in love
because they
with the
love her.
chick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have
And they
shot
wanted-
that bitch and let him live, and we'd have gone and played hockey together.
Yeah, but maybe it would
That
be.
would hurt
hey,
her
That would be
more.
rational
listen,
thinking,
yeah,
though, and
listen.
people that are doing shit like that aren't thinking
Aren't right-
rationally.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think after you
They were hopped
executed
up,
the
I'm pretty
family,
sure.
Listen, yeah, her family is dead now, and
Yeah.
that's like a more painful.
Yeah, I was
than
gonna say
just
that's more
being
painful.
dead yourself. Like that's almost
Yeah.
like the easier way out of that.
absolutely, you
Like,
should have to live with that the rest of your life. Most people couldn't long term; they'd either kill themselves or go insane.
So all 4 got life sentences. They're all in Jeff City. I looked it up a couple years ago.
and these kids were 18
They
or
were
19
like,
years old.
Yeah, they were young, 18, 19.
That's a very fucking violent crime, and that's definitely first degree.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
It's just crazy to me how you throw your entire life away
Yeah,
over something so stupid.
I know.
And don't get me wrong, it's not like an accident, like they were drinking and driving and somebody
Yeah.
crossed the lane, or, I mean, that's some very violent shit.
It was.
There's
very-
prisons full of people though that did one thing one time and ruined their entire life.
Yeah, and a lot of times under the
Yeah.
influence, when you're on
Oh, yeah.
drugs or alcohol, you're not the same. But it's like a quick side story. So in Carl Junction, back in the 80s, you can look it up. My dad was in high school. There were these 3 kids that were into like, I don't know, heavy metal music and kind of like satanic worship and shit. And I'm not saying that heavy metal music does anything like that, but that's kind of, I'm giving kind of got that vibe of what that kind of people look like in the 80s.
Hate and aggression.
So they befriended a kid that went to Carl that was handicapped.
Oh, jeez.
Mentally, he wasn't all there. Became friends with him, and they brutally murdered him. They beat him to death with baseball bats and dumped his body in a fucking well.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is like 5 minutes away from here, and they're all in prison too.
That's good.
Probably a good place.
Who was
for
it
him.
that did it? Who was it? A close family member?
No, it was kids that he went to school with.
Oh, just kids he went to school.
And what's really fucked up is I work with that guy's brother.
Oh, shit. Watch your back.
Yeah.
Worst one
Jesus.
like that, I think, was a baby that meth. They were in a hotel, and the mom wanted more meth, so she left and left the newborn with the guy she was with in the hotel room, and the baby wouldn't stop crying, and so the guy just swung it up against the wall about 12 times.
Dude, that is fucked
And
up.
I remember looking at her in the casket, and we could not get the swelling down. She was tiny, you know.
That makes me sick.
And had
In
to
my
wear- yeah, that,
in my
that's when
fucked
you
up mind, I
just,
thought you were going to say that they injected meth into the baby and killed it, and that
she
would have been fucked
swung
up
her up against the
alone.
wall and killed her.
Jesus
But right in the
God.
head, and you know this is a newborn, and so we had to
It
put
was.
like a hat on her. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that one really got me. That was when I was helping a guy. That happened down in Anderson, actually.
God, I love how this is all in the neck of the woods that we live.
That's all right around here.
You don't
Hey,
realize what
this
kind
kinda
of crazy shit happens every
everywhere.
day.
Yeah.
Every day,
Happens
everywhere.
everywhere too.
And for every
You know?
story that makes the news, there's a dozen that don't.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting to me how like funeral homes stuff, they're so like personal. Like I was thinking earlier, since we were going to be having conversations tonight about this, how like it's not like mass produced, like companies like running these situations. It always seems like it's kind of a family business, and there's like a relationship to it. So like, were you in any side of that, or like dealing with the family and stuff like that? You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I did.
That's a big part of it, right?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Now, most funeral homes, like you said, are family owned, but there is a corporate company called SCI. They're based out of Houston,
Okay.
and they are just a huge company. I mean, they buy funeral homes all over the USA, like smaller ones that might be going out of business. They buy
see.
them, revive them. They have the money to keep them going. But they're pretty big now. They're coming into smaller towns and buying up.
So they're
funeral
growing
homes.
then,
Yeah.
like kind of. Do you
But
think
it's real corporate. Like Chandra worked for SCI, a funeral home in St. Louis that was owned by that company, and I worked for a family in St. Louis. And just the red tape that she had to go through, you know, it was like working at a bank or something. So it wasn't about the person; it was about the money when you get into corporate.
Do you think the family-oriented side of it will go away over time? Is it going to get to that point? Or?
I think you're going to have just cremations one day. I don't think there'll be.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I mean, I'm
like,
getting cremated.
That's what I want to. I'm going to tell you multiple things. You can touch on this. Like, obviously, mortuaries, funeral homes, all these things, that they all ultimately at the end of the day, they are a business. They provide a service, and with laws and stuff. And I get this. We're not living 300 years ago where you can bury your fucking cousin in the backyard and not get throw him in a box or whatever.
That was the hardest part of the mortuary school was the law test. because there's so many laws.
Well, there's so many laws
have
to
to
make
know.
sure that you spend all that money
Yeah.
to get these
Oh, yeah.
services.
But you were
done.
talking crazy shit like, I've heard stuff, like just little plots, 10 grand or a cheap casket's $5,000. And all of a sudden you got people that are $50,000 in debt taking payment plans on a fucking funeral.
The average funeral right now is $12,000.
That's a lot cheaper than I thought. I'm on this one.
But that's the cheapest casket. But
Yeah.
I want all three of you to guess. What's the markup on a casket? What percent?
Like as far as what you pay
What
for it versus
percent?
what you buy,
Yeah, what percent do they mark up?
Give us a
I'm going to say
range. Is it-
75%. I'm going to say
Hold on,
what
hold
they
on, hold
No, I
on.
can't
Hold on,
give you
hold
a
on, hold
range
on.
because I'll ruin it.
Well, you give us a range between like 1 and 100.
like as
Is
far
that
as
what
what
we're
it
talking about,
costs?
or is it like more than 100?
More than 100.
So
Jesus.
between 1 and 1,000.
Yeah.
So it can't be
Okay.
75 because it's already more than 100.
So I'm gonna guess like 300.
300% markup.
I guess like 420.
420. Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You're fucking spending $10,000 on a fucking basket.
Yeah, a box.
That probably
A
costs.
wooden box.
Let's say at most maybe $1,000.
I want a sarcophagus.
I think I went low
casket.
at 300 now.
It's a 600% markup.
600.
That's
Wow.
fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I
So
want to
they're
be
buying
creative.
got-
caskets for $1,200.
You got kids in wood shop class making caskets,
Yeah.
and they're reselling them fucking 600%.
Have you seen this shit? But it's airtight now. Like it closes. It's airtight. It vacuum seals.
So
Like
what, though?
once that shuts,
What difference does that make? Any?
it doesn't for
it's
the
a peace
person.
of mind for the family, but
yeah.
it's more expensive, so you're taught to try to sell those first.
I like the
But your
idea
body's
of
still gonna rot.
Yeah,
Yes,
what's
it
the
will-
I like the
attachment?
idea of a
not-
big ass
it's not
centipede coming out of my nose,
100% leak proof. Yeah.
fucking me in the ass.
In mortuary school, they were reassigning a guy who had been buried in a cemetery, and they were moving him for some reason to another cemetery. And they brought the body in the casket back to the mortuary service I was working at when I was in school, and they opened it. And this guy had been dead since the 60s, and he still had like a suit, but there was like mold inside. That was trippy to see.
So did he
Give
have
us
any
some more
skin or hair?
details.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
had
I
a lot
want-
of hair. So like it was just like a skull with all this
Does
hair.
the hair
It was
keep growing
crazy.
after you die? Is
That's
that
a good question.
it's
I think it.
I think it's a myth,
might.
but I don't know if it's true.
So you're telling me this guy,
In your
No,
nails.
she's
In
shaking
your
her head.
face,
No.
the
No,
hands
might
was
not
all
be.
bones,
I don't
and he
know.
had just
Yeah,
the
but you could see
and the
like
hair?
I've heard that. What about in Raiders of the Lost Ark? When the guy dies really fast and his hair.
Oh, that is
Alright,
right.
I don't know.
right.
Yeah.
that makes
Maybe
sense.
that's just Hollywood.
there's some Asian country they dig up their dead every year and redress them. And so-
fuck.
And take
that.
pictures,
It just,
take
it
pictures
just
with
happened,
them,
yeah.
right?
And they take pictures.
Yeah,
with
they
them.
prop
What's
them
like-
up.
They
and they'll
prop
take
them up
pictures
and they
with
take
them.
pictures with them, no matter
What's
how
like
long they've
the
been dead.
longest person that's been dead that they've.
They'll put a cigarette in their mouth and take a picture.
Yeah.
You got to look it up sometime.
sick.
It's
I hope
great.
it's a
look that
menthol.
up.
You
Yeah,
can find
look it up.
pictures of it on Google. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you know, it's crazy.
crazy.
We think it's crazy,
it's a ritual.
but if you lived in a culture that's done that for thousands of years, that's normal. There, and one thing that I think is kind of fucked up about our culture as far as funerals and stuff, like, I know a lot of people want stuff for closure, but I don't think that they ever get what they want. Like, for example, if I lost a brother or something in a tragic accident, I don't want to see the corpse because I want the last memories of my loved ones to be happy.
I feel the
Not,
same
hey,
way, yeah.
you look at your fucking dead kid in
I
a
feel the same
casket,
way.
and then, hey, everybody come fucking walk in line.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Like,
weird.
one-
the
it's
whole
just-
thing is weird.
It's very weird and eerie and
is.
depressing.
It's very
and
traditional.
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
a
going away.
tradition
Like you
thing.
said, more people are
Yeah.
getting cremated,
I
and
want to be
funerals
cremated,
are going to go away.
have my ashes spread in a beautiful countryside, have a beer, get a fucking blowjob. Think of me when the sun rises.
blowjob.
You know, just enjoy
You're dead,
the
dude.
life that I had once in a while. But don't fucking have a funeral and everybody crying
Yeah.
and all this other shit.
I think the majority of people these days are that way. They're like, I don't want a big
Younger
fuss
generation for
made.
sure. Yeah.
I think that some people throw funerals. I was about to say throw a funeral like it's not a party. Sometimes
it
it
could
is.
be.
Celebration of life.
But some people do it, I think, because they think the people that died want that. But anymore, I think
It's
people
for
are
the
like-
family.
Well, you know what's also crazy is like it's one of those things that nobody wants to talk about, but it's really important that you make a will and you have your next of kin and all that
Very
set up.
important.
Because you know from a personal standpoint what kind of nightmare it can be for the family, and you got to get lawyers involved. And everybody always has the fairy tale. Okay, well, we're gonna live till we're 85, and they're going to pass away in our sleep, and nobody
Yeah.
wants to talk about that.
No, it helps a lot.
It does.
It helps the funeral director and the family because no one has to think of anything. It's all right there, and songs are picked out. The brochures with
Big Balls by
the service.
AC/DC.
Oh, we've had some interesting.
This would be
ones. Highway
perfect
to
time
Hell.
for-
Okay,
We've
seriously.
had Highway to Hell.
Are you kidding me?
No,
I fucking
no.
love it. That's
Oh,
I think it was
sure.
a biker guy.
How
Makes
many
sense.
funerals have you been to with
Oh.
Skinnerd playing like free?
Oh yeah,
none.
Yeah.
Sure, 1,000.
I always hear the old rugged
Skinner.
cross.
Go Rest High on the Mountain's probably the most sung song I think by Vince Gill.
I'd have Skinnerd.
And Amazing Grace. That's a big
I
one.
want to have Buck Cherry lit up. I'm on a plane with cocaine, and I'm all lit up again.
That reminds me. Have you ever seen the Wedding Crazy Bitch video? Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
I haven't seen that one.
So, Adam,
Yo.
you did this for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you say got you into it in the beginning? You were just genuinely intrigued, right? It just seemed interesting.
I thought it was really interesting.
So, at what point,
The science part of it. I mean,
like, did it ever fuck you up? Like,
Yeah.
at what
Oh,
point?
yeah.
It's like being a
Do you
detective
feel
and
like
stuff. Like,
strong? Do you feel like
you just
stronger?
kind of. Well,
You
it's one of
have-
those jobs you have to bring home with you. Like,
I don't know. You sure? That's the thing. You can't. Like,
just
you
leave
have
it at work. It does
bring
follow you
spirits
home. I mean,
home
on
with
some.
you.
Now, if you're 90 and you died in your bed, natural causes, that's awesome. Like,
So, but that's the nice
no one's
thing.
really crying. But you
see
know,
all
if you're a
kinds of shit.
kid that
Yeah.
got
Thrown
killed
against the
or,
wall.
you know,
it would be
something,
pretty
or-
hard
yeah.
not to go home and think about that.
Oh yeah,
Well, especially when you go
It
home and
wears
try
on
to
you, sure.
enjoy your family and friends.
Yeah.
So, what do you
I
have
think
an
most
idea?
morticians are big drinkers. I was not, but I know many that are pretty much functioning alcoholics, even at work.
Sounds
I worked,
like me.
I worked with one. He would drink at lunch and come back, meet a family, put a mint in, and
Billy, you looking
I
for
know
a
he
career
was drunk.
change?
I know he was drunk.
I think I'd be.
Yeah. There's
But
What was the oldest person that you recall at a funeral? Like 100 years old, 112? What was like the oldest service that you can recall?
maybe 100. I don't. Maybe. I know I've had a 98, but I don't know if I've had.
That's up there, and like you said, that's the cycle of life. That's natural, and it's
and they're the
never-
hardest ones to embalm because their
They're so fucking old.
arterial system is it's not flowing well. So,
So what was the youngest? Like you probably saw. I mean, kids
Youngest?
dying like a newborn, dying of terminal cancer, all kinds of shit. Where it's
Yeah.
like, and you have children. You know, a child drowns or gets hit by a car. I mean, you're
let's
talking
see.
some heavy shit, but it's real.
Yeah, and when you get into that, that's a whole nother aspect of the business that you take home because when you work for a mom and pop company where there's only like 3 employees, 4 employees, you meet with the family, you do the embalming, you set the flowers up, you do the makeup, you dress them, you do everything. And so what people don't realize is you're with a family for like a whole week. Like you become friends with them. It's like you become part of the tragedy, like if it's a kid. And that was always hard to separate and leave there, because the family calls you, whenever, and they're like, oh, I thought of another picture, or, this.
Yeah,
So you
you
spend a
just
lot
want
of time with these
everything.
people. So, when it's all said and done and the burial's over, it's like, wow, thanks for helping me, and, we'll be in touch. It's like,
Yeah.
they always call and thank you. And
How many people work
Because-
at one of these places? Like roughly, because you got to think. Unfortunately, it's not like one
SCI
person dies. You
Right.
get 7 days before
So
the
back in
next
the
one.
day, embalmers were union employees. Really? And there's only, I think, one in St. Louis. I don't even know if they even have any more union embalmers. But it just depends. If you work for SCI, the corporate, you have a lot of people that just do embalmings. And
like a
lot of people
factory.
that just
Are there like
Yeah.
travelers that do it? Like, I mean, like something happens and
Yeah, are there like people who are better than others, and then they're
Oh, yeah.
like,
Oh,
you
of
know,
course.
it's like requested, like, oh, I want
Yeah.
this artist.
That's how
Yeah, like,
yeah. That's how I picked.
It's a skill,
It's an art. It really is. But you learn it pretty quick by doing it over and over, and not.
yeah, and
And
some are
messing up
better
and-
than others. Probably.
But that's why I picked this place I did when I was still in school to go practice.
because it was one of the best.
He was amazing. This guy.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, I think he's like 3-4 years older than I am.
Do you
Yeah,
guys
so
ever
I've
get
had-
together
No, that guy.
and have a beer,
should've.
smoke a cigarette?
Oh yeah, he was a cool guy. Oh yeah.
See, I've had like a
I used to chew
a
when I
loose
embalmed.
connection to the funeral home business because like my family knows
yeah.
people that have been in the funeral home business in Carthage and stuff. So
You're
I've
related to him.
loosely, yeah. But I've heard things over the years like absolutely there's funeral homes that are known for quality work versus ones that just
Oh, big time.
But I'm sure it's also like anything
They have
else
the
in
best
life.
jingle.
The best costs the most money.
course.
It's like a lawyer. You know, you can get a lawyer, it can be appointed to you. Or if you've got $10,000, you're going to get a much better lawyer
I
than
think
somebody
just
who gets a free one.
our most embalming fees are around 500 to 700.
Damn.
But Barry, do you have? You said you had a story that you wanted to
so
remind him real quick.
I wanted to take a quick break because I got to take a piss. But
Saying.
we can take a piss and then come back.
so, well, you know what? Let's do that. Let's take a break and,
Yeah.
and we'll bring it back with
Be
the
good to
story.
open with.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Come right
Awesome.
back. See you soon. Three, two, one. Welcome back. We had a nice little break. Ethan made me a nice strong drink. I think we got a couple of us took a piss, so we're good to go for a little bit longer here. And
Yeah, shout out to the studio audience.
yeah,
We are live with two beautiful ladies,
And Eden.
and
and Ethan.
Ethan is the fluffer.
McLovin's ready to.
McLovin.
Shout out to the pisser, you know. Like, yeah. All right. Well, I think we're gonna get back on some funeral home and more talk.
It's
Body.
funeral hour.
You want to kick us off again?
Yeah, so earlier everybody was talking and Billy said, you know, it's weird that happened like right here in our neck of the woods. And then somebody else was like, yeah, well, fucked up shit happens everywhere. And it made me think of this story that Adam told me the other day. So the reason I wanted to get Adam on the podcast is because he tells such great stories and always has one every time I see him. So the other day he shows up at my house and he's like, I've got the craziest story to tell you. And it was a perfect example of, you know, when we said fucked up shit happens everywhere. So tell us the story.
All right. So I was over in Carthage the other day, and I was driving towards town, came up to, kind of by Baker Street. I don't know if you guys are all familiar with Carthage, probably not. But anyway, I was driving, and a car, or a white pickup, I kind of saw it out of my peripheral view to the right, came flying across a parking lot that used to be a gas station that's empty now. So as I was probably 2 cars behind this happening. So as the guy drove by me, a female passenger opens the door and looks like she's about to jump out of the car.
But
and
she pulls out her tits.
Huh? No, would have been a better ending. So this guy, as she's like opening the car door, he grabs her by the hair and just starts throwing haymakers at her.
Just driving down the road.
Driving down the road. Yeah. And so I
Sounds like
flip
a
a
domestic
Yui.
violence.
Yeah, I flip a Yui because I'm like, holy
Oh.
cow, this girl's going to be on the 6 o'clock news or whatever.
He's in the Accord. He fucking
So- Oh, I
that
whipped it,
e-brake
flipped it,
and
I
bitch,
threw
on
that
the
in
Accord,
that
flipped it.
sport mode. and
That
flew
VTEC slap shift.
So then I don't know if they saw me following them, but they kind of got off and went kind of down a dead end road, and I'm like, I'm not turning down there. So
Did you have a gun or anything with you?
I did not. I carry a not a buck knife, just a serrated knife.
So you could have at least stabbed some motherfucker in the neck if need be.
Sure, I know where the jugular is.
switchblade that bitch.
Hey, this guy would probably kill
I
you
know
like
exactly
Jason
where the
Statham.
jugular.
Yeah,
I would
slit
know
your
exactly
fucking
where to
wrist,
start.
your
Yeah.
vein, you're dead 37 seconds later.
He knows all the locations.
Yeah. Pressure points. Uh-oh. Sounds like the ice cream
Thanks
truck's here,
for-
boys.
Fucking up.
Did someone
their
order ice
situation.
cream?
Eden?
Yeah. Is that your ringtone, Ethan?
Dead body.
I'm the ice cream man. Can you hear me coming?
What the hell?
Did you pay for that?
$5.99 a month.
Special ringtone.
What the fuck?
They bill his shit every month. He doesn't know what the fuck it is on
He's
the
the ice
invoice.
cream
He
man.
can't cancel
He's
it.
like, what's this service fee?
He just gave up because he can't figure out how to.
That was awesome.
Did you spill another drink yet, too?
That was an amazing ringtone.
Oh, he
So,
did.
so go on. They pull off.
Oh,
and,
shit.
And you have your knife with you, and you follow them.
I
What
have my
happens?
knife, but I didn't even think about my
yeah,
knife.
he's got
I
his
was
knife. He's
just
not
trying to
gonna-
follow.
He's got a
So anyway,
machete.
What was you doing? Were
They
you gonna, like, follow them
turned-
and call the cops if it got hairy?
Yeah,
What were you gonna do?
I couldn't see the license plate, but I at least called the police, and this is where the story gets really strange. So I called the police and tell them where we're at, and I'm following this white pickup, and I tell them she's in great danger. Obviously, she's getting waylaid. Obviously, probably trying to escape the truck. That's why the door flew open. So, long story short, I call the police. They finally get there. Well, about a minute, not even a minute, maybe 45 seconds to a minute before they show up. I see the guy come back around in this truck and head up the viaduct to 96 Highway. Well, that's right where Carthage ends and the county begins. So the police show up. It's a female cop. She stops and she's like, "Well, where did he go?" And I said, "You'd probably be right on him." I said, "He's probably just over this bridge, not too far." And she said, "I'm sorry, we can't go any farther. We can't leave town." And I said, "You're kidding me, right?" I said, "This lady's probably going to be dead here in a minute." He was waylaying this lady.
Is that when she sucked your dick?
Yeah. When I finally caught up to him.
Billy's looking for a happy ending. There's not one. There's not one to this story. That's the problem.
No. So the police were like, "No, we can't do anything." And they said, "There's not a sheriff that's close." And so they just sat there. And I said, "So you're not going to do anything?" They said, "No, we can't. We can't go beyond this imaginary line."
Can't they go? Isn't there a law, like, as a pedestrian, even, like, for example,
Yeah.
like, if, for example, what you did earlier, you tried to save this girl's life, but, like, if you see that your neighbor's beating the shit out of the kids and you don't call the police and that kid dies and another neighbor says, "Well, I've witnessed that person," like, you can get charged with shit for not being proactive and responsible, right?
Well, like
There's a
Barry and
term
I
for
were
it.
talking about, he made a good point. He said, "What about if there was a gun to her head, would they have approached the extra mile to catch the guy?"
You should have lied about
What's
it.
the
Yeah, I probably should.
criteria?
Well, saying she was throwing haymakers, I thought they'd be like, "Oh my God, here we go."
And the door flung open.
Yes.
Like,
I mean,
he
she was
could've
obviously
pushed her
trying to
out and
escape.
She would have died if you ran
Yeah.
over her.
Yeah, there was obviously a domestic, very violent situation.
They didn't want to deal with the
And they
paperwork.
they did not want to go past this imaginary line of
Was
the
it
city
kind of
and the
hot
county.
watching it all take place?
No, it's just like this is
Kidding.
horrible.
Only you, Billy.
Yeah, only you, Bill.
I'm kidding.
No, I've seen enough violence in my life. I'm not big on violence. But anyway, yeah. So I just couldn't believe it. And Barry and I were talking about it. Really pissed Barry off when I told him, which should piss everybody off. And it was the female cop just shook her head.
Well,
like,
after he tells me this story, I'm like, okay, now I feel like I'm involved. Now I need to know what happened to this lady,
You
because
can make an anonymous
Call
call and save somebody's
CNN.
life.
yeah,
who am I going to call? He already called the police.
Right.
Call
Like,
CNN.
won't county get on it because it's past the.
What's that
the
bitch
Carthage
that
line?
talks
He
about
said
crime?
that they
and shit?
tried to get county
They said
involved,
county
but there
wasn't even
wasn't
close.
anybody nearby,
And
which
it
is
doesn't help
interesting
not having
because
a license plate.
well, in Jasper County
Yeah, but-
Sheriff's Office is in Carthage, like it's right there. How
It's
is there
crazy.
not?
I wasn't going to get close enough to this guy to get a license. I didn't know if he had a gun or.
He could have killed
You got
you.
this day and age, man. I would not ride.
Well, if he
someone's
was okay with
ass
beating the
doing
shit
that.
out of
Yeah,
a chick, he'd have been
exactly.
fine with
He's-
beating the shit out of him.
Yeah,
too,
exactly.
so-
Or shooting
Good
me.
point.
Or something.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty.
He looked
obvious.
like a rough day. I mean,
Nobody tried to be.
I
a fucking
remember he had a
hero.
wife beater on. That was the only thing.
Oh,
I
that's
could
all
all
you
remember.
need to know.
That tells you all you need to know.
So
Yeah.
he had like a buzzed head and a wife beater, and she had long brown hair.
Are you profiling me, you piece of shit?
You're bald with glasses.
Yeah, I wear a wife beater in my underwear most of the time when I'm not in
Dude.
public.
Oh wow,
Tidy whities.
pretty.
Oh, you make it look good though.
Thanks.
So is that the?
Well, yeah, I think Billy's got some topics to bring up too.
Yeah, I was just jotting down some ideas. I think we've had a really kick-ass episode and so much insight that I know the listeners are digging and I'm loving it. It's kind of overwhelming because, like, I've got 1,000 things I want to talk about, but realistically that's not possible. But I guess some of the stuff I jotted down, I do have a question. Did you ever pull any ass or pussy being a mortician? Like, did funerals and shit? Like, did anybody ever girl like just go, "Oh my god, this guy's
No,
like,
they
so
think you're
kind."
weird
So
because
nice
you're
to
in
me and
that
helped me.
profession. Yeah.
I was so sad,
Like,
and he
what
just
guy
talked
gets
to
into
me
that?
and
I
helped.
just need some sympathy.
But
sex.
wasn't there ever like a grieving, housewife or something
Yeah,
that
he
her
wanted
husband
to
died? And
help
she was
and
just
take
like,
care of him and make
she
sure
was so
Serious questions.
stricken with grief that she was just like
couldn't
threw
help
herself
herself.
out. Yeah.
emotionally
I
she
don't
needed
remember
your
that.
help.
No.
It's too bad.
No, I would. Yeah, no, I. It's
a real
a
shame.
little somber.
I was
a little
hoping-
somber
That
back at
shit
the
didn't
funeral.
pay off. That shit.
At
didn't
least we
fucking
can
It's
pay
all
not
off.
a place one should be horny. Let's
Wasn't a
just
lot
put
of- Oh yeah, good
I
point.
fucking hated him. I'm
yeah.
Well, I want to change it up for a minute. I want to ask Adam, what is like the most gruesome, I don't know,
Worst thing I
situation
saw
or
that
body
I-
you
that
came
blew
across?
my mind. Like something I saw, that I was like, wow.
Well, we got
Yes.
like two at this. So like first, like gruesome being like vivid detail,
Okay.
and then after that, like what's the craziest, like death or something? Like how the fuck did that happen? Like you couldn't have.
right.
I mean, like Hollywood couldn't have fucking done that. So gruesome first.
I think
What's
the
most gruesome story you saw? Tell us the details.
one was a suicide,
Okay.
but the guy put on a full face mask, motorcycle helmet,
Oh, fuck.
and then put a shotgun under his chin. So it ricocheted, the bullet ricocheted throughout that helmet for God knows how long. And so when you took the helmet off, it was just all stuck inside.
Just looks like hamburger meats with BBs all over it.
Like, yeah.
Shredded.
basically. Yeah. Shredded. deer meat.
Wasted.
On average, like, did you see a lot of suicides?
Tons of suicides. I did more of those than anything.
Are you kidding me? More suicides
Than
than
car wrecks
natural
or
deaths.
anything.
In car
Well,
wrecks are
not
like
natural deaths, but just for something like accident wise, I would say suicide was the highest. Probably a lot.
most of the time.
Suicides on
Was
the
it
rise.
was it gun? Was it pill overdose? Was it hangings? Was there a trend? Because they say like
Seen a
statistics.
guy hang himself on a guitar strap of all things.
Interesting.
Put it on.
I
his
just hope he
door.
was in good tone and he had good tune.
Yeah.
And when he
That was a nice
killed
strap.
himself, he brought the
chandelier.
frame around the door with him. So I remember when we walked in, the whole door was like leaning over. He had
See,
weighted.
Here's my thing,
Knocked
like
it up.
as a dude that struggles with suicide and shit, like I don't think I'd ever have the balls to shoot myself because like I wouldn't want my family to have to identify that, or like if
Yeah.
you don't do it right, you blow your face off and you're not dead and you're like blind.
That would be horrible.
But like if you hang yourself and somebody tries to cut you down, I was reading an article that this guy then was like mentally retarded because he wasn't fully dead and the lack of oxygen fucked him up. So his family like went bankrupt because for the rest of their life, 24/7, that guy had to have immediate care. But my neighbor is a nurse and she told me what's crazy, like you can get insulin and if you inject it in between your toes, like within a few minutes you'll get really tired and sleepy and essentially you'll just pass out and die peacefully and your organs shut down. I'm like, thanks, that's
haven't
what
heard
I needed
that.
to know.
Yeah, perfect.
I have to look into that one.
God.
Assisted suicide or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If only,
She
if
live in
only we were
Norway,
that
or-
lucky.
How long do you have to do it? Like,
How many
is
milligrams?
it just a one-time thing?
Yeah. You just shoot insulin into you and you just you'll get tired. and
Like a
you'll
lot? You
fall
just do
asleep.
like a big OD of insulin?
You'll fall asleep and your organs will shut down. And you're
Bye bye.
I know a nurse that might know something about that. A male nurse.
Ooh. You want to
That's
tell
another episode. No,
Hold
no,
on,
that's
hold
a
on,
whole
hold on.
nother
No,
episode.
we can just no names.
Yeah.
We
a
don't
whole nother
no
episode.
names. Do you want to just tell one story? No names. Nobody's,
I know you know it well enough to tell it, and I think it'd be actually funny.
Should I tell the story about the
dog?
Let's hear it.
Oh, we like dogs.
Zeus.
All right. So we know this person.
And it goes along with death. Sorry.
Yeah, me and Adam know this person, and I'm not gonna say his name, but he's in the medical industry. He's a nurse of sorts, whatever, doesn't matter. He knows stuff, and he's a weird guy. And Adam had this dog that was really old, and it was like getting to be time to put the dog down, you know. And this guy we know was like, what are you going to do about Buckley, the dog? And he was like, oh, well, the vet's going to come out to the house and put him down.
They did that to my dog and it was very peaceful.
Yeah,
and
they're
it
going
was-
to come out and put him down. It's going to be fine. And this guy we know is like, oh, you don't need to do that. I can come take care of it for you.
Shit.
And Adam's like, no, thanks, dude.
Jerry
It's under control. So he tells Adam this story. He's like, oh, I've done it before. And he tells him this story about this friend he had who had this dog that was old and needed to be put down, but the guy's wife, like didn't want to put the dog down, but the guy wanted to. So the guy we know was like, I'll take care of it for you. Take your wife out to dinner and I'll come over to the house and I'll make it look like the dog just died.
My
So, like
God.
poison it with
Naturally.
hamburger meat or something.
Yeah, so, no, like I said, he's
Hamburger
got
helper.
Set
beef
up the
stroganoff.
scene like like
he's
the
gonna
dog
just make
died
it look like the
naturally.
dog went to sleep.
Like a
'cause
Dexter
he's
scene.
got apparently access to, pharmaceuticals and
For the
things.
listeners, you guys know this is highly fucking illegal
Yeah,
and unethical, and you will go to prison
That's
if
what's
they
so
find
fucked up
out.
about the story. So anyway,
Thanks for
the guy's like,
clarifying
yeah. Okay, so he takes his wife out to dinner. The guy goes over to the house and puts the dog to sleep.
Injects it with something.
Injects it with some kind of hot shot of who knows what. Maybe just
Dishwashing
Yeah.
soap.
And he takes the dog and puts the dog on the couch, all curled up like it's asleep. Well, the guy and the wife come home and find the dog dead on the couch. And the guy's like, I guess the dog died. And the wife's like, well, how did it get on the couch? Because the guy that went and put the dog to sleep did not realize that the dog couldn't get on the couch.
Oh shit!
But he wanted to make it look as peaceful.
But he
as
wanted to make it look
possible.
all nice, so he put it up on the couch. So the wife was like, the dog couldn't get on the couch. What the fuck?
Oh my God!
It's so.
So yeah,
So I guess the moral of the story is if you're going to kill somebody, let them lie on the ground because it has
Yeah,
more
because
explanation.
do some
everybody
fucking
can lay on the
research.
ground. Yeah.
yeah, it was a messed up story. That was good. That was good. Yeah.
What about what's the craziest death that you've ever seen, Adam? Like just bizarre. Like
I saw a
I'm telling
guy
you.
that had hung himself on like a clothesline, and he had like panties and stockings on. That was really weird.
I like where this is going.
Was there anything weird?
Go
about was there anything weird about his balls and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like he didn't have like.
Was there a
bow tie or
suicide
anything?
note?
huh?
Was there a note or anything?
No, very few that I've seen a note left actually.
I feel like you owe your family at least a note or like a 5-minute video.
But I feel like
why.
this guy like wanted to express himself, and he's like, you know what? I'll just fucking hang myself in this, and they'll see what's up. So I
That
don't
makes
know,
a
it's
lot
very
of questions, though. It's still.
I
Like,
know.
That doesn't.
But it's like, here's who I am, and that was really weird. Another weird one. God, there's so many. Can't even tell. So the number one question I get from people when you're embalming them, do they ever get a hard on? And yes,
Dude,
they
I was
can.
gonna ask.
I can't
gonna
believe
ask
Billy
that.
hasn't
I knew
asked
Billy
that.
I
was
was gonna
too, so
ask
that's
that.
why I went
Like
ahead
that
and
is.
covered
I
it.
almost butted in just now.
What about do the
I
girls?
knew it was
that?
due to come up by this guy. But
Do the girls get wet or do their nipples get hard or breast milk come out or anything hot like that?
Breast milk.
no.
Why would that?
Well, like,
happen?
So once you
Dust.
die, you produce breast
Dude,
milk.
that's a serious question. Did you have?
Yeah,
women
and then
that
we
died
sold
that
it
were
to the local
pregnant?
dairy, Billy. It was really crazy.
Were there any? Were there any?
I
the black
support
market.
The farmer's market.
Black
Were there?
market.
Were there any fake titties and shit?
I'm sure, yeah.
Of course.
Of course. There was, I mean, you know.
I want to know the
Obviously.
answer.
So yeah,
to
back
the
to the
hard-on,
question, the
though.
hard-on question.
Yeah,
yes,
the
you
boner.
can. Yeah. You
So
honestly
like
can.
you got the
I've seen
body
it very-
bag, the
I saw it
body
maybe,
bags
like,
just
one
like
or two
poking
times.
up in the body bag or whatever.
No,
It's
like
on
on the
pitching a tent.
table when you're embalming them.
I think a Joe
because you're,
Dirt.
you're injecting with pressure.
Okay.
So flow and pressure all go together.
The blood just rushes down.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically what it is. It hits that.
Starts flopping around. I mean,
It
Is that
happens.
why that one dude's girlfriend got like
No,
all turned on?
he wasn't
and-
even embalmed yet. I don't know.
What happened?
The story he told earlier about the guy's
When
mistress.
when she worked at that funeral.
Yeah, they came in and was giving the dude a hand
girlfriend.
job under the sheet. Did you,
Yeah.
Lucky bastard.
this is
Wonder what the
Beezle
result
Boys.
was. Wonder if she.
This is
Wait.
Beezle Boys, and we got to ask the tough questions. But did you ever see like a Ron Jeremy style dick or anything like that, where you're just like,
Were you ever like,
holy
oh my god,
shit,
why
like-
did you kill yourself?
Like,
Well,
I'll
here's
tell you
what's-
why. He had no fucking blood flow.
well, here's what's funny. I had
Natural
never,
causes.
limp as fuck.
and I mean, where would I've ever seen it? But a naked black man. I've never seen a naked black man. So when I worked for this mortuary service, man, they were coming in and they, yeah, for real, man. They're
I mean,
lot better than white
ain't
dudes.
lying.
Hey, but seriously. So on average,
that's why they're so cocky.
this isn't profiling. it's reality. So on
It is real.
average,
Sure.
for every white man that you saw versus every black man, the black
Well, I didn't
man
inspect
was
it that bad. I just thought, good God, on some of them, it's
But
like.
But
you
just
see
had to
him.
catch a look.
dude.
Like we got
you see.
But
him.
I'd never seen that before. So I was like,
Mantino
good
over here.
God.
Did you take a selfie?
No,
Lay it
I've never
over your
taken
shoulder.
a picture of anything in the embalming room.
Uh,
It's a respect factor.
Oh, of course.
it's a respect.
Yeah, of course.
Billy don't have that respect.
No, Billy would not make it.
Billy wouldn't make
mortician.
it.
He would be in jail.
Yeah.
He would be in a local paper.
There's no way you wouldn't be groping
Yes,
titties and
right.
shit. You would.
I'm sure you get like, I don't want to say tempted because that sounds
And he's-
fucked up
Yeah,
because
no.
the person is dead. But like,
But you're not in that mood, Billy. You got to
but no, but like,
Billy's always in that
not
mood,
in that
though.
mood. It
Don't
has
tell
nothing to do
Billy
with the
that.
mood.
Billy's always in that
No,
You're
mood.
not
has nothing to
embalming
do-
with a boner.
It has nothing. Yeah.
He would be.
He
like,
probably
oh, I
would be.
Always have
Yeah.
one.
He probably
hear me
would be.
Hear me out. Like,
Hear me out.
it has nothing to do with the mood, but like, as a person, like I respect like human nature and shit. So like, what I'm saying is like,
Do you?
if you saw a beautiful woman and they're naked, you're like, man, that sucks. That was a person. But on top of that, it's like, wow, it was a really pretty girl. You feel sorry that she fucking died.
She could have had a successful OnlyFans. Fuck.
You know?
If it weren't for that truck.
God damn it.
Damn it.
Think of all the tips she could have made.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got a couple more questions, then we're gonna move on to the last part of this episode. So you did say that you met your wife as a mortician, right?
I did. Yeah.
And-
At school.
How old were the two of you when you guys met?
She was 9 years older than I was.
Nice.
She was in. She owned a web design company, and
Hustler?
was going back to school.
Oh, sorry, that's Larry Flint.
And was going back to school. She got into it from going to like a relative's funeral. It just intrigued her, and she's like, "How can I
get
do
that.
this?" Yeah.
How-
And that's how a lot of people got into it. They'd gone to a funeral and were like, "Wow, this is like science," because it is. It's more science than it is gore, because
Yeah.
it's like a piece of art. I mean, it really is. It's like art because when you're
Canvas.
done, you want that family to be like, "Damn, they look 20 times better than I've ever seen them."
Dude,
in the
I
last year or two.
Read an article about a guy that was a taxidermy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm serious. I fucking read an article about a guy that was a taxidermy like in Montana, bumfuck nowhere, retired taxidermy.
Right.
His wife died. He didn't report to death. They were retired, lived in bumfuck nowhere, and he taxidermied his wife. Isn't that fucking
I
crazy?
don't know.
Talk about real
what's
dolls.
taxidermy? What do you
Yeah.
do? What do you do when you
Or
taxidermy?
but like he preserved her body. I was
I
just
know,
thinking,
like with what? How do you do it though?
I don't know. That's why he does it.
It's kind of like with animals when you like have the skin and what do you do?
Well,
I'm
they
asking how he did-
take
yeah,
out
how he
all
did
the
his
so
wife.
taxidermists take out all the insides
And
and
they
they
basically put, like,
tan the hide. Like
What
they
did
Her organs out
preserve
and tanned her hide.
Did he
and then
hang her
sew it
on
back
the
together and
clothes
stuff
rack?
It, basically,
I think he
or
like
something.
basically put her outside skin and body on like a mannequin and like
Yeah,
tried
you-
to preserve her.
you
and
basically
he
make a skin
molded the
suit
mannequin
and
to where it
stuff-
was
and
like
stuff
the
it.
natural
Oh,
form
he
of
kept
whatever
it
she
in the
did.
closet.
Then he brought the gimp out.
We've all been
Put
there.
the lotion in the basket.
No,
Bring out the
most of
gimp.
us have not.
Put the lotion in the basket.
Put the lotion in the basket. I was thinking of that.
Billy
one.
wears a leash sometimes.
Sometimes.
You're a big old fat man.
So how long did you say you guys were married?
How long was I married?
Yeah.
What was it? 3 years.
Do you and you guys obviously separated? Do you think that your occupation had anything to
Clearly.
do with that?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm sure
They're
that's
both
what we're asking.
working very stressful jobs. It's very demanding. You don't get very many vacations. You don't get to be away from it very often.
You always have to be available
Some places you do. Like
late nights.
she
calls.
worked for a place where when she got home, she didn't have to go back out. But it was a corporation, so they had people at night that would just go get bodies and bring them back.
Get
and then they
bodies.
Get bodies.
Buddy and buddy.
Eat
A real
body.
friend helps you move. This is a shirt I have. Real friend helps you move. A friend helps you move, but a real friend helps you move bodies.
Really?
True.
And I used to take friends with me sometimes to go get them.
Dude, I wish I
Went through
would
the
ride
I
along.
would ride
Went through the
along.
drive-through a few times. Here's
It's-
some. Went through the drive-through once with a body in the back, and I think it was a black lady at Taco Bell, and she's like, "You got a body back there?" I said, "Yeah," and they're not hungry. I said, "It's just me tonight." And
Get him an extra
she's like-
taco.
oh yeah, she was like freaking out. And then I think I told Barry this story before. I worked for this service, and there was a baby that died, and we had to get it shipped out the next day, and the flight was like at 4 in the
Shipped
morning.
out.
Yeah, shipped out.
Shipped out. Airplane.
Next
Yes,
day air.
Same day
So
shipping.
I didn't want to have to drive back to the funeral home, so I just put the baby in the trunk for the night. And,
In a box.
Went home and slept
Shoe
and got
box?
back in the car and drove her to the airport.
Like, did
Maybe
you put
the
her on
most-
ice or like?
No, she was embalmed.
Oh, she wasn't. Involved.
If you go on an airplane, you have to be embalmed.
Okay.
Because
How,
of the
how long can
gravity
they
and stuff?
hold? You know,
An embalmed
after
body?
embalmed. Yeah, like
I'd say year, maybe. I don't know. I've never seen.
well, I mean, like before, because you're obviously shipping it off to be like in a
Oh, like
funeral
how-
or something. Like how long could you have it? Could it be like 48 hours?
oh yeah,
something?
yeah, sure. And that's how.
Was
long
it just in
usually
a
takes to
coffin?
ship. It was like in a
cake
so
box.
They're called shipping trays. So they're like
Caught.
a tray with a box lid on top, basically. Yeah.
Were there holes in it? No, they don't need to breathe.
don't
You
need-
No, they need to
dumbass.
breathe. They need to breathe.
No, need no hole.
I'm trying to think of other little stupid stuff.
I got a couple other questions, and
Yeah.
we'll keep
Go
moving on. Do you think if you and your wife weren't in this occupation, you'd still be together?
The details.
Billy needs.
Sounds like
the
there's something Billy's
inner-
not telling us. He really wants us to help him with.
We're moving down the list.
I feel like
Take
this
notes,
is
take
becoming a
notes.
therapy
Okay.
session.
Sorry.
No, but okay. No, but
All right, go ahead.
to be more serious, at what point
It's hard to take.
did
these-
you say you've had enough? You've seen it, you've did it, you've done it. You've seen the highest of the highs,
Oh, the
lowest of the lows. At
career?
what point did you say,
Oh, I had to step
just
away.
can't do it, can't take it, don't want it anymore?
I was on my way to work. It was about 8 in the morning, and I got into
What year
work.
was this?
I can't remember now. Got into work, and the phone rang, and it was a call from the coroner, a J4. So it was a vehicle accident, 8 o'clock in the morning. So I had to wait for the other guy to get there to go with me, and got there, and it was 2 girls on their way to school. They were 17, and they're both cheerleaders, and they were coming up over a hill, and I'm pretty sure we never knew, but one I think was on a phone, the driver maybe, and crossed into the other lane and got hit by a dump truck. So it killed the driver, and so we get the girl back to the funeral home because we were going to embalm her, and
So did the passenger live?
I believe so. Yeah,
Wow.
I think it kind of like she wasn't all the way in the lane, but enough to.
Kind of like hit the car at the right angle where it kind of
Right.
wiped it out on that side.
And it was a dump truck. You
So-
said.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I mean, she wasn't. I
Tonka
mean, it
tough.
was. It was.
Thomas the truck.
I
Is
think
that
it
what you
was-
said, Thomas the dump truck?
Tonka.
That's the
Tonka.
last kind of truck you want to get hit by.
Yeah.
It's a dump truck.
Yeah. But there's been a lot of wrecks where you would not know the person's dead because it's all internal. They just look like they're sleeping in a car wreck. Because, So anyway, so we get back with her to the funeral home, and she's on the table, and she's got glass all over her and bleeding, and I'm just like, all right, I think this is it. Like, that was when I was like, all right, I think I'm done. Because I was thinking, this girl should be in school right now. It's like first period, and she's on an embalming table.
Yeah,
getting,
there's no
like,
way
her
I
life
could
is
deal
over.
with that kind of
And I think
negativity on
yeah.
a daily basis.
But it's, and
And
it's
I
like,
think I had been up for days, and it was just like that was the tipping point of the boat where I was like,
but it's
"Fuck
also like
this."
a part of a timeline because when you started this, you were, a young man
Young, yeah.
in your late teens, early 20s, so you were what, probably in your early mid 30s when you quit. So at that point, you're also a grown man. You look at life different.
Oh, yeah.
You're at
This
an age
makes
where
you look
a
at
lot
life
of
a
your
lot
friends
different,
have
yeah.
children,
Yeah.
and you see these things. And when you were younger, you go, "Man, that's horrible. That's like that could be the girl I went to school with."
Right.
But now you're like, "That could have been my daughter," or
Mhm.
something like
Yeah.
that. So
Oh, yeah,
as you
it's-
grew older,
Sure.
it shifted how you
Yeah.
kind of viewed these.
Yeah.
Well-
I mean, you get I mean, I don't want to use the word desensitized, but you have to desensitize yourself,
You have to be good.
and they
at
kind of help you in school do that.
probably like compartmentalizing it. Your work and your
Yeah.
everyday life too. And as you get older, it's probably harder to do
It
that.
is.
But
It's
it probably takes a certain kind of person. Like, is there a stereotype of person that
do
usually
it.
gets
You have
into
to be
that
thick
field?
skinned, man.
Yeah, like
Because I noticed our audience member was upset a little bit ago, and I thought, oh no, she couldn't be a funeral director. Because you can't be in there with the family crying. I mean, because
Yeah.
They give you
you're the
training for
strong
that?
person in the room. Yeah,
They
it's
give you like
called,
eye drops and shit, and put you in the
class is,
stomach and think about like.
yeah. The book we read
know-
was Death and Dying, and you go through like there's 7 stages of grief.
Can
that
you name
go
them
through.
for us real quick?
Oh god.
If not, it's not a big deal.
Anger, guilt,
Denial,
Bargaining.
hate, bargaining.
hate, yeah. What?
Isn't bargaining one of them or something?
I think it is. Like you
It's
tell
been so
yourself
long.
like if you could do this different, you
Yeah.
take that or you
Yeah,
accept
I
it.
would
If it
give
was,
anything to have
But
this
not
person
everybody's the same. They grieve differently. So, you know, you're going to grieve different if your grandma died at 95 versus your kid getting killed in a wreck. So,
Sure. I got one last question, and then
yeah.
Chase is going to move us forward. So, Adam, how do you and how did you deal with all the stress, the heartache, the misery, the pain, the suffering, the job? Did you have vices? Did you go to counseling? Did you drink alcohol? Did you smoke a cigarette? Like, did you,
I chewed a lot while I was doing
Yeah.
it.
So, tobacco, you got a
Yeah,
nicotine
I
rush?
chewed. Yeah.
While you were embalming.
I chewed while I was embalming, yeah.
You
You
just
spit
put
it
that
right
little-
there on the table
And
and
turn
a little
music on. I'd turn on, like, whatever my favorite CD was.
And you
Just
put that
kinda
little
get into-
tobacco underneath your little pouch underneath your tongue. You
little
just
pouch
suck the
under
fuck
your
out of it.
tongue and let
go
it
to work, go to town.
Go down. Do your thing. Takes about an hour to embalm a body, so.
Being done with
Okay.
it now, looking back, do you handle it any different, or do you think you've kind of made your peace and said that's over? It's a different chapter of my
Yeah,
life.
I mean, there's times I really miss it. I mean, I went last funeral I went to. I told the guys I know them that work at the funeral home. You know, if you need anything, I'll come in and embalm some bodies. They said, "Yeah, come on in." So, you know, there's a part of me that misses that science. I wouldn't want to do the family part again, but I do miss embalming because
Well,
it's pretty interesting to see. It'd blow your mind how it all.
And I'm sure it's like
works out.
anything. You met people that you became dear friends with that you truly cared about,
Oh, yeah.
and there were some people that you didn't care. I mean, it's like
Well, you
anything
spend a
else
lot
in
of
life.
people with your
Yeah.
employees. I mean, you're spending sometimes 18-hour days. So, I mean, I'd go into work at 8, have a visitation till 9:30 at night, go home, eat, get a call at midnight to get back out. So, I mean, there's days where you're working easily 20-hour days. There's
Could you-
days I didn't go to sleep.
Could you do like contract
And
work?
Huh?
Could you do like contract work?
Contract embalming. There is traveling.
Freelance?
There is traveling restorative artists, but
The
they like come and
Popular
fill, like
ones
big,
and-
like yeah, like we're they do
celebrities and
magic.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, one more quick question, then I've got to let Chase take over.
Okay.
What temperature do they set the oven to, and how long does it take for a person to be cremated?
Oh, tell him about the time
Yeah.
the guy caught on fire and you
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
get him all the way in.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. So my first
Like a horror
crematory
story.
experience was towards the end of my career. I'd never worked at a funeral home that had a crematory, so I was never, around it. And I've always heard from people that did it, it's really, really dirty work. I mean, you're just covered in like
ashes and all
and
kinds
soot.
of
Yeah, it's
charcoal,
it's just not
barbecue sauce,
So I worked for
jalapeno chips,
KC masterpiece.
country bobs.
Billy.
You get trapped in there. Fuck.
Yeah.
Homemade coleslaw and potato salad.
Right up.
On the side.
So
So you got to get him in there quick, right?
yeah. Oh, so the
how hot is it?
So
How
this
hot's
was my
the
first
thing?
experience.
It's like
with it,
1,000.
right?
Is it like 1,000 degrees?
how hot's the
1600.
1600.
So it starts at 0, and there's like a wheel that chalks with ink. Like as it heats up, it goes through, and then there's actually a button that's called afterburners. So once it gets to a
Afterburners.
certain temp, you throw those on.
And each one of these phases helps burn and decompose a body thoroughly, right? That's why it goes through
most
each
of them
stage.
had one big flame right at the chest that came out. So these are all concrete structures.
Is it like an hour-long session?
3
From start
hours.
It's a 3-hour
3-hour
session from
process.
start
per
to finish.
body. Can you do
then-
multiples or?
Huh?
Just one per
So you
oven?
put them in
Depends
a
on
box.
the
So
model.
they go into a box with a lid on top.
Just one at a time.
one at a time.
Depending on the model.
It's a respectful thing.
No, it's one at a time always.
Always.
You're not
Yeah,
just going to
always.
chuck them in there. It's
No.
not World War II. Like,
Because once it's done, the whole process, then you have to like sweep it out, shovel it out, and then you put it in like almost like a blender. And
A baggie.
It blends up. yeah, it goes into
And the family takes it and they burn it, they piss on it, they bury it, they spread it at the
They
ocean.
make jewelry.
Right? They let you send it off to a dog food plant.
Jewelry's very
Whatever you
popular.
wanna
Sprinkle
do.
me
you know
on
what? You can-
Arrowhead Stadium.
I found out that you can get your ashes
In a
sent up
necklace.
in a SpaceX rocket and released into space.
how
That's what I
much?
want to do.
How much?
I don't know, but that's what I want to do.
I think that's badass.
Yeah, let's pollute space with our
Well,
burnt
But it's
ashes.
not pollution.
Adam,
Pollution.
It brings one live cell that creates life in another
Pollute
fucking
space.
Hey,
hey, thanks, Adam, so much for sharing this insight. This
No,
is some
you're
heavy shit. I
Yeah.
probably won't sleep tonight, but
Oh, good. That was the point. That was the point.
no, but hey, this is
I'm
awesome.
terrified.
I mean,
Oh,
there are
this has been
people
great.
worldwide
we
that
can do
are
a part
curious,
2. There's more to go.
curious about this. It's just nuts.
Yeah.
What a interesting, exciting,
It is
and
an
intriguing
interesting,
life you have
career.
lived so far.
Yeah, it's an interesting career.
Yeah, plus now he's like a self-made millionaire. He owns property all over Carthage.
yeah.
He comes from a wealthy family. Like he's got it, going on.
getting better.
That's right.
Uh,
He lives a
life's
life
good.
of leisure.
Life's good.
He drives a Honda Accord.
he drives a Honda Accord. Woo! It's like a Mercedes. It's fresh. It's fresh.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
got it all
So,
figured
no,
out.
I appreciate you guys having me. That was fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people ask me. They feel bad when they ask me stuff, and I'm like, don't feel bad. I'm like,
Well, now
it's
you can
interesting to
point them
people.
this direction.
People want to know what
Gotcha.
happens. Like, how many people will ever see that? Very
Very few.
yeah.
small
and
percent of
everybody's
society will
interested,
ever
but a lot
get
of
to see
people
that.
aren't
Yeah.
comfortable talking about it or like asking about
Or they
it.
won't.
You know,
But
they
some
think
people-
maybe, oh, he has PTSD from this.
I could see how it could give you
Situation
PTSD.
and-
though.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You probably
I
had some of
definitely
it
could.
towards the end.
Like
at
if
one
you
point.
work just for the medical examiner and that's all you're doing, I could see how that.
Well, and like
or you're just seeing violent stuff constantly.
yeah, and just sitting here, we're like, hey, relive your worst, most traumatic moments.
It's one thing to
for
laugh
us
at
on
it,
the
but
show.
to live, it's a whole different
Yeah.
ordeal.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
we always
I'm gonna
crazy
say
shit.
honestly, like, I mean, I know it's very tough, but I've always kind of thought, and I have people in my extended family who are morticians,
Oh, nice.
and you know, we haven't talked a whole lot about it, but you know, I've always thought that maybe that's something I could do just because of some of the compartmentalization side of it and
well, some of how you view and think
desensitization
about things.
to death a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, and I think it probably does take a certain kind of person, and
It has to.
I've always kind of intrigued me as a possible option for life, but you
One
know.
last quick question, Adam. It's
Sure.
like just one answer because we keep going on, but it's crazy because it just pops
That's
up.
why I said you could have a part 2. I got plenty more to talk.
Does death bother you? Yes or no? That's all.
What do you mean bother me? Like, what
Are you scared of it?
Am I
you feel-
scared of death?
When I say bother you, it
After
can be
working in that, like,
Yeah.
does that scare me to die?
after seeing everything you've seen
No.
and go through.
It actually helped me like be more at ease.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because most of the people, like, I'd say most of the people I embalm, they just, like, you have a relaxing look on your face. When they're all done and, you know, they're just, you pick them up and they look terrible. You're done. They're dressed, ready to be put in a casket. And you're like, damn. You're like, that's art, man.
It's a work in art,
art.
like a doctor. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, it
your
really
job
is.
is to
Well, you're
make
doing like
this
surgery
person
on a
better
dead
than they were
person.
when
I
you
mean,
got them.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you gotta cut arteries, you gotta cut your carotid, you gotta cut your vein, the jugular vein.
So think
That's
of
how
like
you
if a
drain it.
person has a broken bone, do they like just try to put it together with screws, or do you just put it in the suit? And nobody thinks about it.
Yeah.
I've seen
Like if somebody has a
PCP
compound
piping used
fracture or
before.
something. What was it?
PCP piping.
PVC.
Really?
Really?
They just go down to the local hardware store. They get bulk
Shove it in.
discount.
Well, I mean, in all honesty, you don't.
Ace
when you're in
Hardware.
a casket, you don't see the legs. So, oh, that was a question I got once. So, do you guys cut the legs off? No, you do not cut
Do
people's
people
legs off.
ever request to have the legs open as well? You know, they
Yes,
always
you can have
the
a
first
full.
half.
That's a casket that doesn't have like a split in the lid. It's one solid lid that goes up. And
When
that's
I
how
die-
Michael Jackson's was.
And I casket. I don't want a casket. I want to be cremated. But
You
I
should
want
go
to
the
be
mushroom route. The
wanna
mushroom.
be
I was
put-
going to ask about the mushroom thing.
Oh, this
Tell
is-
us about the mushroom thing.
So you can be buried now in it's a suit. You guys will have to look it up. It's kind of cool. And it has like, it's just tight on you and it has like a hood. But as you decompose, it grows mushrooms out of it.
Oh God.
It'll grow like this huge
I
mushroom.
want to trip
garden
Are
on
they
those
edible
mushrooms.
or
on the ground.
smokable?
I want my friends
With the
to
lane.
trip on the mushrooms
Yeah.
that grow from my body. You'd see some fucked up things.
Yeah, you would. Sure.
Yeah, they'll grow
It
up
reminds
through
me of
the
that
ground.
scene on the end of the movie The Fountain with Hugh Jackman, like where he's dying and buried in the tree and his body's
It's
sprouting
kind of the
mushrooms.
same
It's-
thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is.
I just want to be put in a fucking Hawaiian shirt in a casket with a six
Andy
pack,
Reid style.
a fucking pack of cigarettes, a fucking suction
Menthols.
cup dildo. I want people to laugh at me and go, "That's the Billy I knew." I don't want the fucking black suit. I don't want the sad music.
No,
I
that
want
would not
my.
be you
I
at
want.
all.
I
He
want
wants
to be
the
a
Borat.
celebration of life, and I want people to laugh and have fun and move the fuck on.
Yeah.
This sounds fucked up, but I actually can't. This sounds
You
really
can't
fucked
wait
up.
to
I
go to
can't
my
wait
funeral.
for Billy's funeral.
I knew that's what you were going to say.
Yeah. Because there are so many things that he's talked about. and
Imagine
even
the
just,
photo
like,
slideshow at Billy's
and
funeral.
Billy,
Yes.
Billy like wants his whole family to be there. They come from Germany. They come from everywhere. And then like the slideshow is just Billy and a
Please
fucking
warn the
Borat
funeral
with a
director
huge-
before you bring the slideshow.
I would say, hey, no, seriously, can you do that? Like, if you're like, okay, I
I
know
don't
there's
think they'd let any like pornographic videos.
No, I'm
Hey,
not
we'll,
talking
we'll
porno.
rent our own space.
like,
Fuck.
like
Yeah.
naked pictures.
Well,
or-
we won't. Where are we gonna?
the Borat, like viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have the family funeral at the classic place, and
Church
then
or
we'll go,
whatever.
We'll have our own.
and we'll have our
Then we'll
own,
have one.
and we'll bring the body and we'll party with
Yeah, yeah. We'll bring the
With
pot.
the
Weekend at
ashes.
Bernie's.
Yeah.
Crack 'em around
pouring
for a
beers
week.
on you.
Oh
He
shit.
would
for my
want this.
Well, guys, this has been really good. I want to pivot us at the very end, just to give an update about something we talked about a couple episodes ago.
Look at that picture. Look at
Yeah,
Adam.
yeah. So
Fucked up.
we discussed Ron Jeremy. A couple episodes ago, and there's been an update. So let me read this headline and then let Billy take us off here. So, porn star Ron Jeremy faces 250 years in jail if guilty of sexual assault charges. Billy, how are you feeling?
This has got to hurt for you, Billy.
I don't really know what to say. Like, the whole thing is fucking crazy. And I knew that when it all started, it was going to escalate and get worse. But it's just nuts on so many different levels. And, like, a big part of it for me, Alex touched upon in a couple of episodes ago, the cancel culture. Like, how something can happen years and years ago that it's considered acceptable at the time that it happens, like in 1973, and then all of a sudden 2003 that's evolved and that's not acceptable anymore, and then people that did it in 1973 now all of a sudden are viewed as a bad person or did something unforgivable. And here's the reality. I don't even know if this guy's done what's been told. Here's the thing. The guy's a fucking pervert. He's made millions
True.
of dollars. He's fucked thousands of women. But that's who he is. That's what he does. So, like, when these girls talk about, well, I went to his house or his apartment, and then he said this or he wanted me to do that. It's like, what did you think he was going to do? That's who he is. It's like dating a nerd and then going over to his house and he talks about IT shit. What did you expect him to do?
I mean, do you expect him to just pull
But-
his dick out? Like,
It's his house.
Yeah, you can't. There's no way in the world, though, you can ever say you should have expected something bad to happen to you.
I'm not saying bad to happen. I'm saying, like, so if a girl went over to Ron Jeremy's house and he says, "Can I show you my cock?" and then this decides to pull it out, like, like, why would you even hang out with the guy? You're
Is
not
that like
as-
girls going to NFL players' hotel rooms? They know what's
I
going
mean,
to
it
happen.
could
I
be
will
similar.
agree with you. If you go to Ron Jeremy's house and see his cock, you should be expecting that. That's
Yeah.
definitely
yeah.
true.
So I think
mean,
it's
you'd
weird to me
want
that you-
to, honestly.
But that's
Why
what I'm
else would
saying.
you
I
go?
mean, of
You know?
course he's going to get
I'd go to his
It's
house
Ron
to
Jeremy.
see his cock.
It's like going to Patrick Mahomes' house
It's
and
a
he talks
legend.
about football and you go, "Hey, look at my football trophies." And you go, "Well, I don't want to talk about football." Well, what the fuck else do you want? You came to a football player's house.
I don't want to see your football. Show me your dick.
I just think it's crazy. 250 years.
It's the first
and-
time that girl's laughed all night.
She,
That girl.
I love the like
audience.
nobody could see it, but the mask again. Like in the last
Yeah.
episode, he's wearing the mask. He looks like shit,
It's
dude.
terrible.
It's sketchy.
guy.
Like, it just makes you like not want to become rich and famous because what if
I don't think he was ever really probably rich and famous.
I mean, he
His
was
net worth
probably
allegedly
comfortable.
He made
was
some
$10
money,
million.
yeah.
Probably comfortable, but famous, I guess.
The
but is
royalties
that what you want to be
alone,
rich
dude.
and famous for?
I mean, yeah, it's just
honestly?
how like Billy told us last time we talked about this, how he was outside letting people take pictures with his dick
That's
for
his
money.
job. That's what he does.
And that's
for
like,
money.
what kind of
Probably 'cause
life
he's
is
broke,
that?
dude.
you
Look
know?
at him. There's no
Yeah.
way.
He's not a happy guy.
Well, not at this point for sure, dude. Look at
That's
him. He
not a
looks
guy that's
fucked.
comfortable with a lot of money.
He needs to dye his hair again because it's starting to come out there on the top.
I just think it's crazy because odds are this guy is going to die in prison. He's
I
nearly
mean,
70. 250 years, over 20. So I'm just telling you that his occupation that he did and his I don't even want to say he's a public figure, but he's a public figure. He's going to get slammed with something. They're not going to say, okay, here's 20 hours of community service, a year of probation, walk away.
Like,
You know?
I'm gonna be honest.
might.
I don't know the
I hope.
details. I don't know the
might.
details or any of these accounts. And if any of you guys do, please bring them up. But I'm gonna say, like, somebody like this who has been in the porn industry for so long, has done literally everything. He's probably into some really taboo fucking shit, and he probably is kind of fucked up and has done some fucked up things. And I would totally,
You
like-
would too, Chase, if your dick was down to your knee.
yeah, but also like if I had if sex wasn't even like an like I guarantee you it gets to a point like that with somebody like him who is like it's his life. Like he's probably into some
Or he's like burned out and doesn't even care about
yeah,
sex
and
anymore.
it took, I don't know. Does anybody know any of the details about the allegations? 'Cause
Details that I've heard, and I joked about it the last time, but what I've heard is
is that what the
multiple women-
article actually said?
Well, what this one actually does say, so different women, like I said, they went to his apartment in L.A., they met him at a hotel room, and it was all kind of the same thing. Like, they went to hang out with him in a private place that he was a part of. He made sexual jokes or comments, or you want to see my dick, or tried to make out with them, or fuck
Obviously.
them, and they said they didn't want to. You know what I'm saying?
Was this recently?
It's been all over for several different
But
years.
I mean, did this happen recently?
Yeah.
Oh, so
It's
just
like
he
we're
got in
talking shit
trouble
that's 20,
recently,
25 years
It's just
old.
been an ongoing
up to,
thing.
But like, and I also saw today that they said that the porn industry, because of this, is going to change. Now they're going to have what they call lesion officers. So on every porn set, there's going to be a couple of officers that are not hired by the production studio or talent. They're there to make sure that the talent feels safe, to make sure that the girl isn't told she has to do something that she doesn't want to do, or that the director says the guy has to do this. Like, basically a protective bubble within each shoot to ensure that there's like this extra level of security and comfortability, which I can understand because there's a lot of fucked up stories where you'll hear like a chick's supposed to give a blowjob and next thing you know she's doing a gangbang and she's not getting paid for it because they take advantage of it.
Are they hiring? What the fuck?
don't
Like, I
fucking know.
want that job. Talk about law enforcement
Yeah.
shit. Like,
But like,
fuck.
where do you knock it off? Is like this industry. That's what
Chase
you get
gets a
into.
No one's
badge.
protesting against
He
me.
gets a
Fuck.
badge and a
That's
fucking
what you-
baton, and
you know,
he's
yeah.
like, "Are you safe? Do you feel safe, honey?
Yeah,
Are you
I'll
okay with
stand
this?"
there in fucking
Yeah.
military position and just watch this shit go down. Fuck, I'll hold the boom mic if
Yeah.
they need extra.
But I'm
Fuck.
saying, where does it end? Like, this industry is what it is. If it makes you uncomfortable, don't work in it. If you just need money to pay your fucking rent, find another
That's
way.
what it is. yeah.
Here's my question, and this is a serious question: how is there still a porn industry? Because who pays for porn at this point?
Billy.
It's the traffic, the data, the ads. Like, although I am kind of interested
But
because,
no,
like,
I mean, like, think about it from a supply chain perspective.
It's all
right?
tube
Like,
sites, Pornhub, shit
right?
like
But
that.
so Pornhub makes money. Are they paying porn producers to make
Yes,
porn?
some like for premium and stuff. I've heard like if it's a company, it's a scene, you have to pay for the premium, and then they give a percentage to the studio. But like you said, a lot of it's put on the internet. and
also Pornhub is one of, I think, the top 10 trafficked sites.
it's ranked
in
number
the
4th in the world.
Yes,
But
and
in
there
the-
is something valuable with the data of all of these people. I mean,
But does Pornhub actually make porn?
like
I know they make
they
money
kind of
off
do
of it.
now because of the amateur Pornhub. What is it? Pornhub amateur, or like they have this thing where users are uploading porn.
I'm sure it's
and
like
it's
YouTube.
becoming
it's
more
views.
popular
It's
than
like
actual
views.
porn because it's more realistic.
Yeah.
And that is
I
some
think
That's
sort
what
of
I'm
user
saying.
base.
There's not there probably,
but
won't
it's
be a
on their
porn industry
platform.
for very long.
It's on their platform. It's just the same as YouTube and thing. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it becomes this
It's all
thing.
it's all
where-
views. So my point is, if your video, like, so for example, another thing is like that chick Mia Khalifa or whatever that was a big popular star for like 2 years. Her videos were like the top rated on the internet, not a site, not a genre, but the internet. And she wants to be recompensated for that. But the argument is that she got paid what she agreed to, and they didn't know that she was going to become a huge star. So the tube sites and the companies are saying, we don't owe you money. We gave you
Tube
$2,000 for the shoot, and we can't help there. There's 200, 22 million views on this video.
Billy, when are you doing a porno?
I'm not. I can't.
That
get
was a
hard.
question I had for Billy tonight.
Well, the question actually is, when are you going to release one of the ones you've already made?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in prison.
Billy, how many porn sites have you paid money to have a subscription to?
I can actually say none.
Really?
Well,
That's
I can say I
shocking.
did the
No.
trial, like where it's free.
Have you
and then
ever
have to pay.
paid?
I saw
have
you in a
ever paid money
Brazzers
for
hat,
porn?
you
Has
motherfucker.
anybody in this
You
room
feel like
ever paid money
no,
for porn?
But Billy feels. I feel like he's someone who would have a subscription to something.
No.
Has anybody ever paid money for porn?
I
Yeah.
did the subscription, like the $1, so I guess technically,
Yeah,
yeah,
he
it's like
did. He ran
$1
his
for
credit
3
card.
days, and then you cancel. That way they don't bill the fuck
You
out of
ran
you.
his credit card.
I don't count that.
So,
It
like, if
can
I
be a
went to-
trial.
if I
Billy's
went-
name came across.
If I went to the thing on Range or on I-44 and bought a DVD, does that count?
Did you go to the bathhouse out there?
Dude,
The
quick funny
Vegas?
story. So during the tornado, there was no internet, and I had to get my porn. So I fucking go to I-44,
Oh, wow.
and I went to it's shut down now. It's not there
Adult
anymore.
video.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gone.
You heard what happened out there a couple of months.
No, but you did. So
Let's hear about it.
The guy that was kidnapped with his donkey in the car out there. It made national
Sorry,
news.
donkey.
And that's his. This
It made
is
or goat. I'm sorry, goat. It made national news.
Associated
Can you
with
pull
the
this up?
Adult.
He was
Video.
at the adult video.
He was at the adult video store asleep in a vehicle with a goat, and he was kidnapped with the goat.
Oh,
it,
you
it
know.
made national news.
Was
You
this
know
was
he
this the
just
guy
got
that
done
it was-
fucking that goat.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was on.
You know he fucked that.
That's like a
goat.
Tony Hawk thing.
have
Remember
to
you
look
go
that
behind
up,
that
man.
building and there's a dude and Tony Hawk looking
can't
at
remember that.
behind.
Yeah, dude, that's so funny. I don't know, but I think it's crazy the world we live in with cancel culture, the way things change. And I almost think a lot of shit needs to have statute of limitation like anything else. And I know that some of the stuff is fucked up, it's traumatizing, it's emotional, And here's the flip side. If this guy really, like I said, he's a pervert, this is who he is, this is what he does. And I'm not justifying the extreme of what happened, but I'm saying if he truly abused these women and just did whatever the fuck he wanted because he thought he could get away with it, that's not cool and that's not right. But at the same time, why were these girls hanging out with him? To get popular likes on social media, other shit. It's such a complicated story. I don't know.
I don't think Ron Jeremy will ever fully be like canceled. I mean, like,
Isn't he already?
I
Like,
mean,
who
yeah,
cares
he's
about
can,
Ron
who
Jeremy?
cares? But no one's gonna like forget. I mean, at least for a while, who Ron Jeremy is.
I
like-
did until you brought this story up. I had totally
I mean,
forgotten
but-
about Ron Jeremy.
Well,
I was
yes,
always
but
more
when
of
you
a
hear
Peter
his
North
name, you
guy.
know who he
well,
is.
of course,
You
I
know
know
who
he
he
is.
is.
Yeah, everybody does. But
I mean, at this point, he's washed up and shit. It's like,
well,
fuck.
look
I
at
mean,
him.
he's
He
gonna
looks like the Grim Reaper.
I
yeah,
think it's like, but no, I think like kind of what I took
look
away.
like Adam.
Yeah, well, hey guys, Adam looks like
Ron.
the good-looking Ron Jeremy
Yes.
from like
What did you say?
Yeah.
2000, 2003
When he
when he
was-
cut the hair short. Yeah,
Yeah.
He
when he was
looking
doing the tequila commercials and
yeah.
shit. He had his
those
own
up.
line of But what I took away from this is that as much as everybody wants to be like famous, I don't envy fame because if I do something, people don't give a shit. But if you're famous, if you're rich, all of a sudden you're put on a platform and you're treated differently. And on top of that, like, does it matter? Like, so whatever this guy did or didn't do with his life, it's all coming to an end. You know what I'm saying? So he can say, I fucked thousands of girls, I made all this money, but like, there's a chance he's going to die in a prison cell. Like, wouldn't he rather have a family and a normal life and watch, his kids grow and experience that? Like, I feel the older you get, you look at life differently in that perspective versus just what you did 50 years ago.
Well, dude, I mean, it depends on who you are. Look at Jeff Epstein. The dude had like $1 billion fucking dollars. He
You're
had
right.
everything he ever wanted, but he was a total psychopath.
Good point.
And he ended up dying in a prison cell.
That's
So-
what I was saying about Ron
What
Jeremy.
if Ron
having
Jeremy was the one that
everything.
hung him?
So-
Now, that'd
Complicated
actually be cool. Then they
shit,
should
but-
let him out.
yeah. Well,
I wanted to share this with you guys. NBCnews.com, man and goat taken on terrifying 3-state drive after carjacking in front of a video
Terrifying.
store.
On where
A
at?
man stole a pickup truck with a sleeping passenger and a goat inside it and drove it all the way from Missouri to Oklahoma before releasing the terrified victim.
It's not even that
and
fucking
the
far.
animal are eventually
3
getting
hours of
arrested.
zigzagging.
I thought it was
Why
like,
was
from
the
Missouri to
person with
California or something.
So these guys were parked outside in a truck at the adult video store in Carthage, Missouri.
So these guys, you mean like a dude had a
The guy
goat?
and a goat.
The driver
Yeah,
went
why was he
inside
with
the
a
store
goat?
and the
I just-
passenger fell
Dude, I'm
asleep.
telling you, if he was parked in front of the adult video, asleep, he just got done fucking that goat.
oh my God, he took it with him. He's like, "Hey, you want to go on a drive?" After
you're
They
saying-
drove 130 miles with
You
this
don't take a
kidnapped
goat, to the
man.
adult
That's from
video
here to Kansas
for
City.
no reason.
Can you imagine?
I'm telling you, this
Kirby
was a
did take
calculated
methamphetamine and pistol whip the guy.
So wait, so you're telling me? So the
This is
craziest,
real shit.
the craziest thing about this
Talk about
story,
weird shit around
the
here.
craziest thing about this story is the guy that was in there with the goat was kidnapped. Somebody else hijacked this
Yeah.
fucking truck with a guy that's asleep
Yeah.
and a passenger seat and a fucking goat in the back,
Yeah,
high on meth,
yeah.
and they drive 130 miles.
Welcome to the Midwest.
Does it say how they got caught or how it all ended?
Yeah. Kirby, who's from Tulsa,
Kirby from Tulsa.
was jailed on suspicion of kidnapping, pointing a firearm, and being a felon in possession of a firearm. Let's see. It says he was eventually arrested in Sand Springs, Oklahoma, after he let the passenger and the goat out of the truck, and the victim called 911. It had a happy ending, it looks like, but
the goat's okay.
when I
He's
told
sharing
that
his-
story to some people, they said there's no way. I said it's online, look it up.
Other
it
than
happened.
being raped, the goat is okay.
He's still
Would
fighting
you
a
rather be that
lawsuit with
guy
PETA.
or Ron Jeremy?
Filed a law.
That guy?
The goat fucker.
He's not going to do 250 years in prison.
All right, everybody. Well, it's been a great episode. I think it's about time we wrap it up. I gotta piss really fucking bad.
That was good.
This has been a great episode. I mean, appreciate you coming in,
Yeah.
Adam, and sharing some stuff.
I'm
with
buying
us.
a hat out of the deal. That's how convinced I am.
Oh,
That's cool.
Beezle Boys hat.
Hey, thanks, Barry.
Beezle
Thanks,
Boys.
Chase. Thanks to
Yeah.
our two pretty lady guests that we have. We got our fucking
Yeah.
retard over here. He's not mic'd up.
Aw,
I'm just kidding,
come
everybody.
on.
He's like our
McLovin.
truest
The guy
fan.
is like the
McLovin.
merch guy. Look at him.
He's
decked out,
everything.
man.
I think he should
Talk
have
about
a
a
few.
trooper.
He
No,
should
he's
have a few
decked
words
out.
to say real quick.
Yeah, let's hear
Yeah.
from.
What do we got, Ethan?
Who
How's
are
it
you?
going, guys?
Eat it.
Oh, there's Ethan.
I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Oh yeah, he's a
When
couple
you smoke a
brownies
blunt, and eat a
deep.
brownie. I feel pretty good too. Just don't shit yourself. That's called the brown bomber. Hey, but seriously, Adam, thank you, man. This is pretty awesome, dude. You
Right
talked
on,
about
man.
some heavy shit, some
Cool.
deep shit. You shared
We
your
got
life with
deep.
us.
Some
And I
funny
know
stuff. It's
People are gonna enjoy it.
interesting thing. So thanks
Yeah.
for having me.
Yeah. What are we trying to do, Billy?
Become better people.
Cheers
for that.
For some reason, I can't quite believe it, but it sounds good.
Cheers.
We're trying. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
All right. It's a
Excellent.
wrap. See you guys on the next one.
Rack 'em.
Bingo.